God's Fall Mountain Range, swoosh. In the depths of the God's Fall Mountain Range, super powerhouses constantly flew past. From time to time, shocking explosions could be heard, all of which were the collisions of shocking spiritual chi and demonic chi. In such a mountain range, all the experts did not want to fight, nor did they want to fight with demon beasts. Because they didn't dare to cultivate inside, it would be very difficult to recover after consuming true essence. If they fought with experts in demon beasts, they would be killed by other experts after consuming their true essence. Rumble. Boom. Boom. Roar. Roar. Even so, there were still countless experts who encountered demonic beasts. The terrifying demonic beasts were all at the 6th or 7th rank, and there were even existences at the 8th rank. No matter how powerful a martial saint powerhouse was, he did not have the slightest advantage in such a place. Killing a demonic beast would also consume true essence. Those who saw demonic beasts would mostly hide and escape, not daring to fight with them. The experts who could not escape could only admit that they were unlucky. The God's Fall Mountain Range, which was tens of millions of miles long, had become the separation zone between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom. The reason why the two countries didn't have a war was because of the existence of this mountain range. If the North Jin Kingdom wanted to invade the Mystic Moon Empire, they would have to cross this mountain range. However, the mountain range was tens of thousands of miles long and was filled with danger. Even the army did not dare to enter. If they went around this mountain range, they would have to pass through other kingdoms. The other kingdoms would not let the Northern Jin Kingdom pass by. Of course, it was very difficult for the Mystic Moon Empire to wipe out the North Jin Kingdom. Even if other kingdoms attacked, they wouldn't be a match for the North Jin Kingdom. With the other two empires eyeing them covetously, the Mystic Moon Empire naturally wouldn't easily fall out with the kingdoms below. However, this time, the Northern Jin Kingdom had excluded countless super experts to enter. No one understood why. Sage Emperor, the North Jin Kingdom has sent countless super experts into the God's Fall Mountain Range. We have to be on guard. If the North Jin Kingdom opens the Divine Martial Hall, they will be able to enter the Mystic Moon Empire with this passage. In the Holy Moon Palace of the Holy Moon Empire's Holy Moon City, 10 ninth heavenly layer martial saints stood in the main hall. In front of the throne was a thin veil that blocked the divine sense. The people below could not see the Saint Emperor behind the veil, but none of the 9th heavenly layer martial saints dared to show any disrespect. The person who spoke was the 10 great masters of the Mystic Moon Empire, Ling Qingfeng, who was also one of the 10 great elders of the Mystic Moon Empire. His cultivation was extremely deep, and he was at the 9th sky of the martial saint realm. His strength had reached a terrifying level. Let them make a scene. It's impossible for them to open the divine martial hall. A faint voice sounded from behind the throne. The voice was crisp and sweet. No one would have thought that the ruler of the Mystic Moon Empire was actually a woman. No one had ever seen the true face of the Holy Emperor of the Mystic Moon Empire, so they all thought that the ruler of the Mystic Moon Empire was a man. Only the elders and the top 10 masters of the Mystic Moon Empire knew of the Mystic Moon Empire's Saint Emperor. However, they had never seen the Saint Emperor's true face. Your subordinates will obey. Sage Emperor, people from the Sky Blue Empire and the Sky Sun Empire have also entered the God's Fall Mountain Range. Should we send people over? Another elder asked the Divine Emperor. During this period of time, my cultivation has reached a bottleneck. I need to cultivate in peace. You don't have to worry about these things. I have plans. You can all leave. Behind the throne, the sweet and clear voice sounded again, and there was a hint of impatience in the voice. When the 10 elders heard this tone, they were all stunned, and their faces revealed a fearful expression. They hurriedly bowed and left. If they were a little slower and provoked the Sage Emperor, they would not have a good ending. This subordinate will take his leave. The 10 elders disappeared in the blink of an eye, running faster than ghosts. In an instant, the hall was extremely quiet. There was no longer any sound. Kiki, Kiki. These old fellows only know how to trouble Bengong. Sigh, I still prefer a plain life. I like the life of the past, but I wonder if he will go to the Divine Martial Hall? Behind the throne, the crisp and sweet voice let out a heavenly laugh. However, after the laughter, there was a hint of impatience in his voice, as well as a hint of nostalgia, anticipation, and longing. It was as if he had recalled some beautiful memories. Sage Emperor, your cultivation has reached a bottleneck. It's time for you to cultivate quietly. Don't think too much about anything else. With these old guys in the Mystic Moon Empire, there shouldn't be any problems. Another crisp voice sounded. Although this voice was crisp, it was less clear and ethereal than the first voice. Moreover, when he spoke, there was more or less a trace of respect. Who said that I'm going to cultivate? Let's go and prepare. Don't let others know. Let's go to the Divine Martial Hall to take a look. The woman called the Saint Emperor said faintly. Afterwards, the hall fell completely silent. The other kingdoms had all sorts of arrangements and sent countless super powerhouses into the God's Fall mountain range. This time, the 9 of you will go together. Don't disappoint me. As long as the Divine Martial Hall is opened, you can directly pass through the God's Fall mountain range. Take care of this matter for me. In the northern Jin kingdom, King Lai was emitting a strong aura of fire, but his tone was extremely cold, as if it came from hell. We will obey. With the 9 of us at the 8th sky of the Martial Saint realm working together, it's enough to open the Divine Martial Hall and subdue everyone else. In the palace, after the 9 super experts finished speaking, their figures disappeared. Lai Wuxia watched as the 9 experts disappeared. A faint smile appeared on his face as he waved his hand. Suddenly, an ethereal aura appeared in front of Lai Wuxia. After this aura appeared, it turned into a middle-aged man in black. The aura of the middle-aged man in black disappeared in an instant, and he looked like an ordinary person. Shadow, go on behalf of this king. This king can't count on these trash at all. Lai Wuxia looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. When he spoke, his face was filled with politeness. He did not dare to show the slightest disrespect to the middle-aged man in black. Don't worry, Your Majesty. I will definitely open the Divine Martial Hall and bring back the treasures inside. However, Your Majesty, someone from above is already urging you. I hope Your Majesty can hurry up. Shadow nodded and disappeared. As he disappeared, a faint voice sounded. Lai Wuxia's face twitched when he heard Shadow's words. He smiled bitterly. Li Lingtian and the others were cultivating on the spaceship. A month later, Longda informed Li Lingtian that they had arrived at the northern Jin kingdom. Li Lingtian then ordered General Long's spaceship to stop and called Tang Qingyue and the others into the Divine Dragon Ring. He brought Longda and Qingling to an inn. After asking for 2 separate courtyards, he set up a few formations. He called Tang Qingyue and the others out again. Although they were free on the spaceship, it was not as good as being on the ground. Moreover, they had already entered the northern Jin kingdom, which was hundreds of millions of miles away from the free and unfettered dynasty. When the time came, they would have to enter the God's Fall mountain range. Tang Qingyue and the others naturally couldn't show themselves in the God's Fall mountain range. They could only cultivate in the Divine Dragon Ring. Now that he had the time, he should take a good rest outside. After settling down, Longda went out to inquire about some news in the northern Jin kingdom, mainly about the Divine Martial Hall. Longda had been with Li Lingtian for a long time and had learned Li Lingtian's way of handling things. He was very good at handling human affairs. With him gathering information, Li Lingtian was naturally too lazy to go out and do it himself. A day passed, and Longda had also inquired about the news. Young master, the Divine Martial Hall is in the God's Fall mountain range. It's not a secret among the experts of the North Jin Kingdom. Although there are countless super powerhouses entering the God's Fall mountain range, the God's Fall mountain range is fraught with danger. Very few people dare to go deep inside. Moreover, entering the Divine Martial Hall requires a Divine Martial token. The God's Fall mountain range is the border between the Mystic Moon Empire and the North Jin Kingdom. We are still 5 days away from the God's Fall mountain range. Longda replied respectfully and told Li Lingtian everything he had heard that day. After that, he stood respectfully at the side and waited for Li Lingtian's instructions. You go down first. We'll enter the God's Fall mountain range in 2 days. Li Lingtian waved his hand and fell into deep thought. The geographical location of the God's Fall mountain range was indeed a bit strange. He was also worried that the Northern Jin Kingdom and the Mystic Moon Empire might have some kind of trap. If the two countries fought over the Divine Martial Hall, the experts who entered the Divine Martial Hall would become cannon fodder. Subsequently, Li Lingtian relayed the news to Tang Zhenji and the others. They could not come up with a solution. Since there was nothing he could do, he could only take it one step at a time. Li Lingtian allowed Tang Qingyue and the others to rest while he began cultivating. Entering a dangerous place like the God's Fall mountain range, and there were countless super powerhouses and powerful demonic beasts, he had to adjust his mental state to the best state. This was the most basic requirement of a true expert. He had to maintain his best condition at all times to deal with all kinds of dangers and challenges. 2 days later, Li Lingtian, Longda, and Qingling left the inn and headed straight for the God's Fall mountain range. Qingling's sense of the God's Fall mountain range was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, the guidance on the Divine Martial Token was not wrong. It was the location of the God's Fall mountain range. Li Lingtian and Qingling were even more eager to know what was inside the Divine Martial Hall. After flying for 5 days, they finally arrived at the God's Fall mountain range. Feeling the aura of the God's Fall mountain range, Li Lingtian was horrified. This was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying aura. Spiritual qi, demonic qi, and all kinds of auras. These auras fused together to form a destructive aura. It was definitely a dangerous thing to enter. Qingling's cultivation couldn't withstand it at all. In the end, Li Lingtian had no choice but to call Qingling into the Divine Dragon Ring. Even though she was a 7th Heaven Martial Venerable, Li Lingtian did not want her to take the risk. In any case, they had already arrived at the God's Fall mountain range. As long as they followed the other powerhouses, the general direction would not be wrong. Furthermore, most powerful existences were located in the deepest parts of the mountain range, including the Divine Martial Hall. 9 super martial saints, let's go in. Li Lingtian shouted at the dragon after he called Qingling into the Divine Dragon Ring. When he finished speaking, his figure had already disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already shuttling through the God's Fall mountain range at high speed. His figure was like a flood dragon, and the air was distorted. Wherever he passed, there was no fluctuation in space, as if no one had passed by. This strange situation shocked countless experts. The air was distorted, but there were no fluctuations in space. This was the first time he had seen such a strange situation. Moreover, wherever Li Lingtian went, the mysterious destructive aura would automatically disperse and it did not affect him at all. Longda watched Li Lingtian leave and flew away quickly. He had been with Li Lingtian for a long time and Li Lingtian had dragon energy. Even if he was thousands of miles away, Longda could still sense Li Lingtian's presence. Naturally, he was not worried about losing him. Besides, his cultivation base was similar to Li Lingtian's. Moreover, Li Lingtian was only flying and did not engage in battle. Hence, his speed was similar to Li Lingtian's. Swoosh, swoosh. In the forest in the sky, a white figure and a gray figure were advancing rapidly. Such speed did not care about the powerful demonic beasts and experts in front of them at all. To them, since they had already entered the God's Fall mountain range, there would naturally be a great battle. There was no need to care too much now. They didn't provoke other experts and demonic beasts, but they weren't afraid either. After flying for half a day, Li Lingtian came to a stop. His expression was grave and his eyes were filled with horror. The aura of this place had reached its peak. This place has such a dense and mysterious aura. I wonder what this aura is? Li Lingtian stopped and looked into the void. The void was also filled with a gray aura. Although he could see the sky from the mountain range, it gave off an unreal feeling. The mountain range was filled with mysterious auras. These auras were the combination of several auras. Moreover, the deeper they went, the denser the aura became. In the air, the aura was almost tangible, like a thick fog. The aura corroded the cultivation and true essence of the experts, and even the protective barrier of ordinary experts was directly corroded. Although the protective shield around Li Lingtian's body was trembling slightly, it showed no signs of shattering. Naturally, this little bit of corrosive power was not a threat to him. Any defense could ignore any aura. Moreover, he had countless defenses on his body. Even a martial saint expert could not break through them. However, he was also shocked when he saw such an aura. After all, this aura was too mysterious. It was his first time seeing it and he had never heard of it before. Moreover, the number of experts they encountered along the way was decreasing. Up until now, they had basically not encountered any experts. However, these powerhouses were all martial saints. There were very few Ninth Firmament Martial Emperor powerhouses and he had basically never seen them before. Young master, we've flown about 100,000 miles. This speed is many times slower than outside. We haven't seen any other experts. Could it be that we've already entered the deepest part? Longde came to Li Lingtian's side and looked around. As Li Lingtian's bodyguard, he had to observe his surroundings at all times to prevent any attacks from powerhouses or demonic beasts. Although his cultivation base was not as good as Li Lingtian's, he would definitely be able to fend off any sneak attacks on Li Lingtian. At their realm, a distance of 100,000 kilometers was simply a matter of time. However, they had only traveled 100,000 kilometers after flying for more than half a day. The aura of this place was too strange. It could actually slow down the flying speed of experts and even devour the cultivation and true essence of experts. The consumed true essence was devoured by the air. This place was like a black hole that devoured everything. Be careful. The aura of this place has no effect on me. You'd better display your dragon energy. In this place, even if others know that you have the body of a true dragon, they won't be surprised. Li Lingtian did not answer Longde's question but reminded him instead. He had cultivated the true dragon body barrier, the heaven and earth reincarnation technique, and the holy demon true understanding. Naturally, he was not afraid of the aura here. Moreover, he was excited because this aura was completely suitable for his cultivation. It was as if it was specially created for him. In the past, he had either cultivated the Saint Demon's quintessence, the true dragon body barrier, or the heaven and earth reincarnation technique. Basically, they had never cultivated at the same time before. However, at this moment, this aura actually met the requirements of cultivating at the same time. However, he couldn't cultivate here yet because he hadn't found the Divine Martial Hall yet. The matter of the Divine Martial Hall was more important. Moreover, it wasn't safe here, so he couldn't cultivate in peace. Thank you for your reminder, young master. I understand. Longde was touched and immediately displayed his dragon energy. With the protection of the dragon energy, it had a strong resistance to the mysterious aura outside. At least, it would not be easily corroded. It's only 100,000 miles outside, but there's still some time before we reach 10 million miles. The God's Fall mountain range stretches for tens of millions of miles. Even in the depths, it's still millions of miles away. Therefore, we still have to fly outside for a period of time. Li Lingtian looked ahead and called Qingling out. A ray of light enveloped Qingling. Qingling's cultivation was still at the 7th level of the martial honored realm. She could not resist the corrosion of the aura in this place. He could only help Qingling protect her. After Qingling came out, he used his soul consciousness to sense the divine martial token to confirm that he was heading in the right direction. Li Lingtian called Qingling back into the divine dragon ring once again and continued to fly with Longde as they headed deeper into the cave. Swoosh. After flying for a short while, Li Lingtian heard a soft sound of air being torn from behind. There were 9 air-piercing sounds, but these 9 air-piercing sounds were extremely orderly, as if they were made by one person. Li Lingtian was astonished by such a strange occurrence. After giving Ambassador Long a look, the 2 figures flashed and disappeared into the air. The moment he disappeared, 9 figures flew over at an extremely fast speed. Moreover, the 9 figures were all in sync and their movements were exactly the same. The 9 eighth sky martial saints were emitting a destructive aura. Their faces were filled with killing intent. None of the 9 people moved. They all carried a mysterious aura. It was like a strange array formation, or rather, a joint array formation. 9 figures landed, their eyes looking around for something. I clearly discovered the existence of 2 auras in this place. How did they disappear just like that? One of the experts said coldly. His face was filled with confusion and a bloodthirsty smile appeared on his face. He should be hiding. Judging from his aura, he should be at the 8th or 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. It's just right for us to devour true essence and blood essence to cultivate. The other expert said indifferently as he started to search with his divine sense. From their tone, he discovered that the 9 experts had cultivated a vicious cultivation technique, devouring the true essence and blood essence of the experts to increase their cultivation. Let's go. Forget it. When we meet a martial saint by ourselves, we'll kill him before we cultivate. We shouldn't delay His Majesty's matters now. The leader of the powerhouses said. After searching for so long, they still could not find any traces. The other party's concealment skills must be very good. If they delayed things here because of the 2 martial monarch realm experts, they would be punished when they returned. Then let's go. Let's go to the Divine Martial Hall first and open it. At that time, our army will be able to pass through the God's Fall mountain range. However, His Majesty the King has to make us take a detour. I really don't understand. Swoosh. Don't talk nonsense. Let's go this way. No one will suspect our identity. Hurry up. Don't let others take the lead. After searching for a while, the 9 powerhouses gave up after failing to find Li Lingtian and his companion. He quickly flew into the distance. His voice became softer and softer until it completely disappeared. Li Lingtian quickly extended his divine perception until the powerhouses were 3,000 miles away. He then revealed himself and reappeared at his original spot. Longde came out at that moment and stood beside Li Lingtian. What a terrifying cultivation. These 9 people are good at attacking together. I wonder what kind of expert can defeat 9 eighth sky martial saints. Li Lingtian said calmly as he looked in the direction where the 9 figures had left. He felt even more solemn. He knew that countless experts would enter the Divine Martial Hall, but he did not expect such a powerful expert to enter. From the sound of these experts, he could tell that they were definitely from the North Jin Kingdom. In the Mystic Moon Empire, only the North Jin Kingdom and the Mystic Moon Empire were at odds. If they were experts from other kingdoms, they would not hide their identities. The power of 9 eighth sky martial saints working together was shocking. Li Lingtian would not be able to deal with even one of them, let alone working together. If they worked together, he did not know what kind of powerhouse they could deal with. Young Master's 9 heaven stars and young Madam's 5 elements reincarnation are not weaker than these experts. It's just that their cultivation is a little low. If they reach the martial saint realm, they won't be afraid of these super experts. Longde was also shocked. He did not expect 9 eighth heaven martial saints to gather together. Moreover, it seemed that they often stayed together. However, when he thought of Li Lingtian's heaven-defying abilities, he felt more at ease. As long as Li Lingtian, Huangfu Yuyan, and the rest could improve their cultivation, they would have a chance of defeating these powerhouses. It's easier said than done to become a martial saint. Li Lingtian said lightly before he flew forward at high speed. Longde quickly followed. Li Lingtian knew that if he were to reach the martial saint realm and join forces with Huangfu Yuyan and the rest, he would have some confidence in dealing with these 9th firmament martial saints. However, Tang Qingyue and the others were all at the 7th level of the Supreme Realm while he was only at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. It was even more difficult than ascending to the heavens to become a martial saint. Terrifying Cyclone. 1. Li Lingtian's figure flashed as he swiftly flew deeper into the forest. Along the way, they encountered a few groups of super powerhouses. They were all powerhouses at the 7th heaven of the martial saint realm or above. However, there were also a few 9th heaven martial emperor realm super powerhouses. Li Lingtian was amused by these powerhouses. He could not compare to the powerhouses he had encountered. Normally, he would have been the first to be killed, but now, no one was willing to do anything. They only looked at him disdainfully and quickly left. Along the way, they only met 2 or 3 9th firmament martial emperors. The rest were all martial saint powerhouses. Moreover, these martial saints all had extremely profound cultivation. Li Lingtian was amused by Long Da's relaxed expression. It was indeed rare for 2 martial supreme realm experts to be able to blend into the ranks of the martial saints so easily. This was also why Long Da trusted Li Lingtian's abilities and was not afraid of those supreme martial saint powerhouses. Boom! Boom! Hu, hua, hua. After flying in the God's Fall mountain range for 5 days, Li Lingtian and Long Da arrived at the depths of the God's Fall mountain range. On this day, he could feel the unusual air from afar. The space was constantly trembling slightly. Noticing this situation, the two of them looked at each other but did not stop. This was because the location of the tremor was a full 10,000 miles away from where they died. After flying for half a day, the deeper they went, the stronger the spatial tremors became. After half a day, they finally arrived at the place where the space was trembling. When they saw everything in front of them, they were completely shocked. 10,000 miles away, a shocking destructive aura was spinning in the air. It was unknown how huge this destructive aura was. Moreover, this destructive aura blocked the path in front of them. Upon witnessing the destructive cyclone, Li Lingtian was suddenly reminded of the world of spirit qi in the bottomless abyss. However, the two were different. The bottomless abyss was a world of spiritual energy, while this place was a world of destruction. Terrifying destructive energy tore through space. The air had long been shattered and distorted. Even the endless forest had been destroyed. There was nothing in front of them. Li Lingtian and Long Du were shocked to see this. They stopped and did not fly forward anymore. Young master, this place should be the entrance to the divine martial hall. Long Da said seriously as he pointed at the destructive world in the distance. His expression was extremely ugly. If there was really an entrance, what kind of powerful martial artist would be needed to enter? Just the entrance alone was already so powerful. If there was a terrifying existence inside, who knew? Let's go first. There are still many experts ahead. Li Lingtian looked ahead and called Xingling out. Before he did so, he had already covered 100-meter radius because even a martial emperor powerhouse would not dare to linger here. If Qingling didn't have his protection, she would definitely be injured by this corrosive power. After Qingling came out, her expression kept changing because a strong feeling was getting stronger. Moreover, he was certain that this place was the entrance to the divine martial token. Upon seeing this, Li Lingtian took a deep breath and called Xingling into the divine dragon ring before flying forward with Long Da in tow. If it was outside, it would only take a moment for him to cover a distance of 10,000 miles with his cultivation. However, it took him a full half an hour here. Finally, the two of them arrived in front of this destroyed world. In this place, it was as if his entire body was about to be devoured. His mind was also trembling. Even if he circulated his cultivation technique, it was difficult to resist this destructive corrosive power. The huge destructive cyclone blocked the path ahead. It was like a precipice that cut off the entire mountain range. He didn't know how big this cyclone was, but no matter where it was, it carried an aura of destruction. Countless martial saints stopped and looked at the destructive cyclone in front of them. They were all shocked and did not know whether to advance or retreat. Humph. The powerhouses scoffed in disdain when they saw Li Lingtian's arrival. This place was the deepest part of the God's Fall mountain range. Those who came here were all super martial saint powerhouses, and there was not even a single martial emperor powerhouse. However, the arrival of Li Lingtian and his companion made the powerhouses feel that Li Lingtian did not know his place. However, he did not think that a young man at the 9th level of the martial emperor realm would be so powerful to be able to come here. Li Lingtian did not seem to mind at all. His eyes were fixed on the vortex world in front of him as a huge wave surged in his heart. Swoosh. At this moment, a 9th heavenly layer martial saint powerhouse had a hint of arrogance on his face. His aura soared, and his figure flashed as he entered the world of the vortex. After entering, there was no longer any sound. He completely disappeared into the world of the cyclone. Li Lingtian's mind raced. If he wanted to enter the divine martial hall, he had to enter from here and pass through the world of the cyclone. Even if they were to bypass this place, they would have to pass through the cyclone world. He wasn't passing by here, but was going to enter the divine martial hall. Then, he looked at Long Da and held his hands together. Suddenly, violent dragon chi surged out and the two of them quickly flew into the world of the cyclone. In the blink of an eye, the two of them disappeared into the world of the cyclone. Outside, the cyclone rippled like the surface of a lake. Countless powerhouses were astonished to see Li Lingtian and Long Da, both martial supreme experts, enter so easily. Following that, countless martial saint powerhouses flashed and flew in quickly. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Puff, puff, puff. A series of muffled sounds rang out as countless experts were directly bounced back. They fiercely fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. There were even some who died directly. Countless martial saints died or were injured at this moment. Seeing this situation, all the experts were incomparably shocked. Now, they understood that these two martial monarch realm experts were not ordinary figures. Otherwise, they would not have been able to enter so easily. What a terrifying cyclone. Forget it, I should go back. That's right. Even if we enter, we won't have the divine martial token. We'll just be wasting our time. Why didn't this terrifying destruction cyclone kill all the martial sovereigns? Could it be that those two are hiding their cultivation? That should be the case. Forget it, I'll go back and cultivate. Going in is suicide. I'll go back too. All of a sudden, countless super experts had the intention to retreat. Looking at such a terrifying cyclone, there was no chance to enter at all. Moreover, even if they entered, they did not have the divine martial token and could not enter the deepest part. He couldn't enter the divine martial hall either. There was no need to risk his life here. Gradually, many martial saints left the God's Fall mountain range, but there were still countless super martial saints who entered the cyclone. The moment Li Lingtian and Long Da entered the vortex, they felt as if they were about to be torn apart. Moreover, when they just came into contact with the cyclone, it was as if they had hit an iron wall. Fortunately, the two of them had terrifying strength. The dragon chi had strong resistance to this cyclone and easily entered it. However, there was a world of whirlpools everywhere. After flying for 10,000 miles in the cyclone, he finally escaped the destructive strangulation of the cyclone. The distance of 10,000 miles was as difficult as the distance of 100,000 miles outside. Even with Li Lingtian's terrifying cultivation base, he could only withstand it with the 5th layer of the true dragon body barrier. His defense was something that even a martial saint could not compare to. However, even so, he was almost killed by this destructive cyclone. Pfft! Li Lingtian could not hold it in any longer as he spat out a mouthful of blood after he escaped the vortex. Long Da was the same, but he appeared to be in a much better condition than Li Lingtian. Nonetheless, he had a grateful expression on his face. This was because Li Lingtian's true dragon body barrier had protected Long Da from behind. Otherwise, with Long Da's cultivation base, he would not be able to match Li Lingtian's and would be the one who suffered more injuries. What a terrifying destruction cyclone. If a martial saint below the fifth sky of the martial saint realm entered, he would definitely vanish into thin air. Li Lingtian quickly retreated and only stopped when he was 10 miles away from the precipice. He stared at the vortex in horror. This cyclone was like a natural chasm, dividing the mountain range into two halves. When he first entered, that feeling was unforgettable. If there was any further distance, he would not be able to leave. He had also underestimated the destructive power of this cyclone. In this cyclone world, countless martial saints had died. Even many 5th or 6th heaven martial saints had died in it. Even a level 7 powerhouse had fallen inside. This was also because he had overestimated the defense of a martial saint powerhouse. However, he did not know that his defense was heaven-defying. Even a supreme expert at the 8th or 9th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm could not compare to him in terms of defense. This was because he had cultivated the true dragon body protection. He had the flaming sacred body, the heavenly sword body, the 5 elements sacred body, the heavenly demon region, and the limitless feather coat. Any of these heaven-defying existences had a stronger defense than an 8th or 9th heavenly layer martial saint. If anyone saw him enter so easily, their jaws would definitely drop. Young master, when we were in the vortex just now, you protected me. I saw 3 7th sky martial saint experts fall inside. I also took their storage bags. When Longda heard Li Lingtian's words, he knew that Li Lingtian had overestimated the strength of a martial saint. At that time, Li Lingtian had used all his strength to protect him, so he did not notice what was happening outside. However, Longda found that the 3 7th sky martial saints had fallen at the last place. He was terrified when he saw that the 3 7th sky martial saints had fallen inside. Fortunately, the 2 of them had successfully left the world of the vortex. Before he left, he took the storage bags of the 3 7th sky martial saints. With that, he handed the storage pouch to Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian received the storage pouch and scanned the items inside with his divine consciousness. He was even more shocked. This was because he discovered that this storage bag was definitely in existence at the 7th heaven. It was something that only those heaven-defying experts had. Moreover, there were 3 divine martial tokens inside. Exotic beasts of ice and fire, he is indeed a 7th heaven martial saint. I didn't expect this destruction cyclone to be so powerful. Let's find a place to learn first. Li Lingtian said to Longda as he kept the storage pouch. Then, the 2 of them quickly left the cyclone cliff and flew forward into the distance. He had just been injured and could not take risks easily. He could only find a place to rest first. After flying for half an hour, they finally found a good environment. Li Lingtian quickly cast a few formations before calling Qingling out. After Qingling came out, her expression became even more surprised. Her small face became excited and there was also a trace of dullness, as if she had discovered something. Qingling, what's wrong? Li Lingtian asked when he saw Qingling's expression. Young master, we're very close to the divine martial hall. Or rather, we're not far from here. Because that strong feeling is getting clearer and clearer, as if it's calling me. Qingling explained the situation, but she couldn't help but reveal a surprised and expectant expression. Seeing that Li Lingtian was injured, he looked at Li Lingtian with concern. He went forward to wipe the blood off Li Lingtian's mouth with a silk handkerchief and sat quietly beside Li Lingtian. When he entered the vortex, the mysterious aura was gone. In other words, the mysterious aura still existed, but it was definitely not the same as the aura outside. This aura had a mysterious benefit to experts. It could increase a martial artist's cultivation and physique, and change an expert's meridians and physique. However, they did not dare to use such an aura to cultivate in case they were accidentally injured. Although he could not cultivate, he could live a normal life. When my injuries are better, we'll go find the entrance. Li Lingtian glanced at Qingling before he began to heal his injuries. Unknowingly, he realized that the aura of this place was extremely beneficial to him. Moreover, this aura carried a mysterious will, as if it was the will of a heaven-defying mighty figure. He had met her before, and that was Ji Yi's father. This aura wasn't as strong as that one, but it was extremely mysterious. That was because Ji Yi's father's aura and will were completely made up of heaven and earth spiritual qi. The aura entered his body and was continuously refined. His injuries were also rapidly recovering. In less than half an hour, his injuries had fully recovered. Li Lingtian and Qing Ling were astonished by this. For someone at Li Lingtian's level, the recovery time of an injury was not something that could be recovered in a short period of time. However, this time, it only took him half an hour. It was indeed surprising. I didn't expect this aura to be so beneficial to my cultivation. It's just a pity that I can't cultivate here. Li Lingtian opened his eyes and spoke calmly. A look of joy appeared on his face. If he cultivated in this place, it would definitely be countless times faster than outside. However, he could not delay here in order to find the divine martial hall. This place was the God's Fall mountain range, the link separating the northern Jin kingdom and the mystic Moon Empire. In other words, this cyclone had always existed. It was just that there was a time limit for the divine martial hall's summoning. If he had time in the future, it would be a good thing to come here to cultivate. Let's go. We can leave now. Find the seat of the divine martial hall. Li Lingtian stood up and said to Qing Ling. He then reached out to pull Qing Ling as the two of them walked out of the array. After leaving the array, Li Lingtian waved his hand and the few arrays disappeared. They were isolated and hidden by a mysterious illusory array. Young master, have you recovered from your injuries? Long De was shocked when he saw Li Lingtian come out. He could not see any signs of injury on Li Lingtian's body. He could not accept the fact that Li Lingtian could heal his injuries in such a short time. Yes, the aura of this place has endless benefits for healing. Let's go and find the divine martial hall. After Li Lingtian finished speaking, he led the two of them and flew into the distance. It was not as if they did not know how far it was in there. Fortunately, Qing Ling had the divine martial token, which had the approximate location of the divine martial hall. This was because Qing Ling could sense the divine martial token. The closer she got to the divine martial hall, the stronger her senses became. However, the three of them searched for 10 days, but they still could not find the entrance to the divine martial hall. Instead, the feeling became stronger and stronger, as if it was right beside them. However, they did not see any palace or any special place. Could it be that the divine martial hall is underground? Long De was also a little depressed. This feeling was getting closer and closer. If he went further, the feeling would get weaker and weaker. According to the feeling, this divine martial hall was nearby, and it was right beside him. However, even if they couldn't find the divine martial hall, they could only feel speechless when they encountered such a thing. You're right. The divine martial hall is underground. It's just that we haven't found the entrance yet. I've encountered such a thing before. Forget it, let's not search this place for now. Even if we know that the divine martial hall is underground, we can't enter. Let's go somewhere else. After all, there are more experts than us who came in. They should know more. Li Lingtian agreed with Long Da's words. He had encountered similar situations before. Sometimes, even if you were on top of your target, you would not be able to get him. They had to pass through certain places, and there were special entrances. Then, Qing Ling held the divine martial token in her hand and the three of them quickly flew forward. They extended their divine senses to find the location of the other super experts. A place where super experts gathered should be the entrance. After all, these experts were all backed by a large family or a kingdom. These people had been around for a long time, so they naturally knew some things about the divine martial hall. The few of them did not even know about this. It was better for them to search with the other experts. There are quite a few good things outside the divine martial hall. According to the clan's map, the ice and fire snow lotus should be nearby. The ice-fire-snow lotus can be used to refine the ice-fire pill, which can increase the fusion of ice and fire for martial souls. However, this ice-fire-snow lotus is 100,000 years old. 100,000 years old herb is already a natural treasure. Could it be that the ice and fire snow lotus grows in an ordinary place? At the very least, it should be a place where ice and fire intersected. The God's Fall mountain range is 100,000 miles wide, but in the divine martial cyclone, it's an independent world. It's extremely difficult to find a place where ice and fire intersected. That's impossible. The clan's map has already indicated that it's probably at this location. Let's search for it properly. At the edge of a huge canyon, two middle-aged men at the seventh sky of the martial saint realm were looking for something and discussing. He looked around as if he was looking for some treasure. He didn't look like he was looking for the divine martial hall at all. Roar! At this moment, a shocking explosion sounded. The sound of the explosion shook the cliff until it trembled continuously, and countless gravel flew everywhere. When the two martial saints saw this scene, their faces revealed a shocked expression. At the same time, their eyes revealed excitement because a stream of icy chi and a stream of fiery power erupted in the air. The fusion of the two extreme attributes was what made them excited. The two of them looked at each other, and their eyes kept changing. They were pleasantly surprised, excited, shocked, and afraid. Ice and fire mutated beast. With a cry of alarm, he quickly retreated, his face full of shock. A ball of fiery red flames and a ball of blue cold air surged out of the canyon. Immediately, the cliffs and the air were burning. But on the other side, it was frozen like a glacier. The two balls of light were extremely fast, and they arrived at the entrance of the canyon in a flash. When they arrived at the entrance of the canyon, the two balls of light merged into one, forming a magical beast with red and blue colors. Seeing this strange beast, the expressions of the two seventh sky of the martial saint realm experts changed drastically. That was because this exotic beast had already reached level 8. Such a terrifying mutated exotic beast was countless times stronger than demon beasts. Moreover, this exotic beast's body was filled with ice and fire, completely destructive. It was countless times stronger than any powerful demon beast. Sha-sha, kacha. Roar, roar, roar. Hoo, hoo, hoo. In the air, one side of the air was constantly frozen while the other side was constantly burning. Looking at the two humans in front of it, the ice and fire exotic beast's eyes were filled with bloodlust and madness. Its eyes gradually turned fiery red and dark blue, like a world of ice and a world of flames. Run! When the two of them saw the cultivation realm of the ice and fire exotic beast and its terrifying aura, they immediately lost all their fighting spirit. If they stayed any longer, it would be impossible for them to escape. Level 8 was equivalent to the 8th heavenly layer of the martial saint realm. Although this ice and fire exotic beast wasn't as intelligent as a human, it had the talent of ice and fire. Even an 8th heaven martial saint would have to avoid it. After the two of them finished speaking, they had already run into the distance. Their figures flashed for several miles. In their opinion, even if they couldn't defeat him, it would still be easy for them to escape. After all, a 7th sky martial saint expert had a lot of control over space. His movement technique, cultivation, and speed had increased countless times. However, to everyone's surprise, the moment they escaped, a scream rang out. A 7th sky martial saint expert was struck by a ball of destructive flames and ice. Instantly, the devastating flames and ice destroyed him. In the end, he turned into an ice sculpture, but his body had already been burned. The magical fusion of ice and fire stunned the other martial saint for a moment. However, just as he was stunned, the terrifying aura of the ice and fire strange beast descended from the sky. Boom! Seeing the destructive aura descending from the sky, the 7th heavenly layer martial saint's eyes turned ruthless. He circulated all the genuine vitality in his body and punched fiercely. A shocking explosion sounded, and the space was instantly destroyed. Great battle against the monsters, 1, Kacha. The destructive power completely disappeared in front of the ice and fire aura. The burning sky power burned the seventh sky of the martial saint realm. At the same time, the frosty chi covered the seventh sky expert and turned him into an ice sculpture. The two ice sculptures stood on the ground. The entire process happened in the blink of an eye. The two seventh sky martial saints hadn't made a move yet, but they were destroyed by an ice and fire exotic beast. Moreover, the distance that the two of them had escaped was less than 5 miles. This distance was only a matter of seconds for a seventh sky martial saint. The ice and fire beast looked at the two ice sculptures and let out a roar. The two ice sculptures quickly shattered. The mysterious and strange eyes were like torches. Immediately, the aura of the two fallen experts quickly entered the body of the ice and fire strange beast. The ice and fire strange beast revealed a satisfied expression. He was as excited as if he had eaten a big meal. Then, he walked straight into the canyon without looking at the two destroyed human experts. Li Lingtian, who was flying at high speed, came to a halt and hovered in the air. He could not help but exclaim in surprise with a surprised expression on his face. "Young master, what's wrong?" Longda and Qingling quickly came to a stop and stood beside Li Lingtian. What a powerful and terrifying ice and fire chi. This ice and fire chi carries demon chi. It should be a powerful ice and fire demon beast. Li Lingtian said seriously with a grave expression on his face. Just as he was flying at high speed, he felt a throbbing in his body. This feeling could only be sensed after he cultivated the fusion of ice and fire. It was nothing at first, but the closer they got to this side, the stronger the feeling became. He cultivated the ice, fire, 9 heavens, and was born with the flaming sacred body and ice soul martial spirit. He was naturally extremely sensitive to such an aura. The ice and fire energy was far away, but its aura was so powerful that it made him feel fear. The more this was the case, the more excited he was. Encountering such a thing could be considered an opportunity. It was very difficult to break through even a little when cultivating ice, fire, 9 heavens. Now that he had encountered an existence like ice and fire, he naturally had to see what was going on. It's said that where there are powerful demonic beasts, there are magical treasures. Qingling looked at Li Lingtian with a happy expression. Although heavenly treasures were of little use to her, she was still very interested in them. This was because Li Lingtian could improve his cultivation base and refine pills with them. Then we'll go take a look. You guys be careful. Li Lingtian glanced at Qingling and Longda before instructing them to fly away quickly. He didn't need to search. He could find the location of that powerful ice and fire demon beast just by sensing it. Finally, the three of them arrived in front of the huge canyon. However, when they saw the situation on the ground, their expressions changed drastically. Not good, it's a terrifying ice and fire demon beast. The martial saint did not resist at all. The two of them died almost at the same time. There were no signs of a fight at the scene. In other words, they were killed in one strike. Be careful, this demonic beast is extremely powerful. Longda, use your dragon energy to lure that guy out. Qingling, go back into the divine dragon ring. When Li Lingtian and the other two arrived at a spot not far from the canyon, they saw 2 puddles of water on the ground and 2 skeletons in the water. Looking at this scene, he realized that 2 super martial saints had been killed. Moreover, they had fallen under the ice and fire chi. There were no traces of a fight at the scene. Clearly, they had been killed in one strike. Even the super martial saints had no strength to fight back. Then, he put Qingling back into the divine dragon ring and let Longda attract the powerful ice and fire demonic beast. However, he disappeared and hid at the side to observe. At the same time, he circulated the true essence in his entire body to the limit, and the heavenly extreme tyrant emperor saber in his hand was also displayed. The terrifying saber intent and the destructive metal will form the destructive aura in the air. Longda did not hesitate at all. He walked forward step by step, and the dragon energy on his body was quickly emitted. He had no interest in Li Lingtian's arrangements. As Li Lingtian's bodyguard, he naturally had to listen to Li Lingtian. Besides, with Li Lingtian's cultivation base, the attack he prepared was considered a sneak attack. Even a supreme martial saint powerhouse would be killed in one blow. Defeating an ice and fire demon beast was naturally not a problem. The more he walked forward, the more he trembled. That destructive ice and fire aura almost made him lose the will to fight. This was the first time he had encountered this frost flame energy. It was not inferior to Li Lingtian's frost flame energy and was even stronger. Roar! A loud roar rang out, causing the air to tremble. One side of the space was constantly frozen, while the other side was constantly burning, forming a world of ice and a world of flames. The demon beast did not appear, but just its voice had reached such a level. Long De and Li Lingtian, who was in hiding, were both shocked. Long De, retreat quickly. Li Lingtian had no confidence in dealing with the demonic beast that he had yet to meet. All he could do was to shout for Long De to retreat. He could not care less about exposing his tracks. At the same time, he slashed out with the extreme overlord saber in his hand. Instantly, 10 saber lights slashed out towards the sky as if they ignored the distance between them. His target was the void in front of Long De. Even if he didn't see the appearance of the demon beast, he could already sense that terrifying existence coming out and quickly pounced on Long De. Under Li Lingtian's reminder, Long De quickly retreated as well. At the same time, he could feel a deathly aura corroding him. It felt like death was coming. Rumble. Boom. Boom. In the sky, a shocking explosion sounded. 10 saber lights slashed down fiercely. There was originally nothing in the void, but when the saber lights slashed down, a terrifying aura came up and collided with the saber lights. With the help of the desolation 10 consecutive strikes, Long De's body was pushed 100 meters away by the violent destructive power. With the help of the violent destructive power, his body flashed and he retreated 1,000 meters away. He floated in the air and looked into the distance in horror. The 10 saber rays collided with a 3-meter-tall demon beast that appeared out of thin air. The appearance of this demon beast seemed to be deliberately welcoming the saber light. Long De was shocked by Li Lingtian's terror. He had calculated his position, timing, and speed before his opponent appeared. By the time his opponent appeared, the saber beam had already slashed down, leaving his opponent no chance to dodge. Roar! With a furious roar, the ice and fire-like demonic beast was flung away. It was not injured at all, but instead, it became even more enraged as it glared at Li Lingtian with bloodthirsty eyes. Li Lingtian was utterly shocked. His cultivation combined with the tyrannical saber art's desolate 10 consecutive strikes had actually failed to injure this demonic beast. He was completely shocked. Based on his cultivation, even Wanyan Linfeng, who was at the 7th sky of the martial saint realm, would be killed by a sneak attack with all his strength. He did not expect that the desolate 10 consecutive strikes could not even hurt this demon beast. At the same time, he was even more shocked when he discovered the cultivation realm of the terrifying demonic beast in the air. Ice and Fire Exotic Beast, Level 8. Li Lingtian cried out in shock. It was the first time he had seen such a terrifying realm. No wonder he was so powerful. Moreover, the destructive aura of ice and fire on his body made people want to collapse. Roar! The Ice-Fire Exotic Beast glared at Li Lingtian with an even more furious expression. A weak human actually dared to sneak attack it and almost injured it. If not for its terrifying defense, it would have died under this attack. Flaming Sacred Body. Ice Soul Martial Soul. 9 Suns Sacred Flame. Ice Flame. Limitless Holy Flame. Spirit Cold Ice. With a wave of his hand, Li Lingtian's ultimate overlord saber vanished and transformed into a stream of light that entered his body. At the same time, the true essence in his body circulated, and his eyes quickly changed. On the left was a fiery world of flames, and on the right was a dark blue world of ice. The flaming sacred body and the ice soul martial spirit were activated automatically. This was the advantage of the combination of ice and fire. Ice and fire appeared at the same time. Instantly, a destructive aura erupted. The world of ice and the world of flames tore through the air, distorting the air. When the ice and fire exotic beast saw Li Lingtian's reaction, its initial fury vanished. Instead, it became excited as if it had encountered a powerful opponent. Roar! Roar! The strange beast roared as if it was showing off its power. The ice and fire aura around its body also erupted. How could it not be excited to meet a human with the same attributes? Instantly, the world of ice and the world of flames appeared in his eyes. It was exactly the same as Li Lingtian's. If outsiders did not know, they would think that the two of them cultivated the same cultivation technique. In the sky, there were two dark blue worlds of ice and two fiery worlds of flames. The world of flames and ice around Li Lingtian continued to intertwine as the air continued to exude a destructive aura. On the other side, the ice and fire exotic beast unleashed the ice and fire world just like Li Lingtian. Li Lingtian's world of ice and fire was cultivated after birth. The ice and fire mutated beast was born from nature and was also a connate mutated beast nurtured by heaven and earth. Comparing the two, even if Li Lingtian was powerful, he could not compare to the innate exotic beast of ice and fire. However, at this moment, he did not admit defeat at all. Instead, he displayed the terrifying fusion of ice and fire. 9 suns sacred flame, ice flame, limitless sacred flame, and spirit cold ice. These heaven-defying existences entered the world of flames and ice, making the originally vulnerable world of ice and fire even stronger. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, Li Lingtian's world of ice and fire collided with the world of ice and fire monsters. The space was constantly destroyed, and the air was constantly distorted and torn. The ice and fire exotic beast's eyes became excited because no one had ever fought it before. Even humans stronger than it were killed in the blink of an eye. Moreover, he had encountered a terrifying ice and fire expert. Naturally, he would not miss such a great battle. Subduing a mutated beast. 1. Long Da was stunned as he watched Li Lingtian's battle with the ice and fire monsters. How was this a war? It was the destruction of a super expert. The ground was shaking, and the air was freezing and burning. Even though he was 1,000 meters away, he could not withstand the destructive force. With a flash of his body, he retreated another 10 miles back as he stared at Li Lingtian without moving his eyes. If Li Lingtian was no match for it or was in danger, it would be the first to help him. However, it did not know that it would not be able to participate in a battle like the one between Li Lingtian and the ice and fire exotic beast, no matter how powerful it was. Roar! Roar! Boom! Boom! Li Lingtian hovered in the air as he glared coldly at the ice and fire monsters. There were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes revealed a shocked expression. On the other side, the exotic beast of ice and fire roared continuously. The destructive ice and fire aura grew stronger and quickly crushed Li Lingtian 1's ice and fire world. Pfft! He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned even paler. With a sway of his body, he quickly retreated backward. In the end, he fiercely slammed into the stone wall, and his entire body sank into the stone wall. Ice, fire, 9 heavens, 4th heaven, forbidden. Li Lingtian was infuriated as well. It was the first time that his most powerful ice-fire world had been suppressed like this. After being injured, he couldn't think of any other attacks. He circulated his true essence and quickly stretched out his hand. A terrifying aura that could destroy the world erupted. A ball of purple flames appeared in his left hand, and a blue ice appeared in his right hand. 2 extremely terrifying attributes appeared in Li Lingtian's hands. Immediately, the space erupted with destructive ice-fire chi. However, this time, the ice and fire exotic beast felt a deep fear. It was only a mutated beast and had never cultivated before. Even if its talent was powerful, it did not have any cultivation skills. He could only rely on his terrifying talent to injure Li Lingtian. However, when he realized that Li Lingtian had unleashed a terrifying skill, his eyes revealed a look of astonishment. Roar! With a roar, the ice and fire energy around his body became even more terrifying. The space was constantly burning and freezing, and the air was trembling. He opened his mouth, and a fist-sized ice-fire inner core flew out. Instantly, the space seemed to be on the verge of destruction. Even Li Lingtian could feel the terrifying destructive aura. Just this aura alone was enough to suppress him so much that he could barely breathe. If the attack landed on his body, it would definitely dissipate into thin air. Just as the ice and fire exotic beast unleashed its intrinsic inner core, Li Lingtian clasped his hands together and the spirit-chilling ice and the limitless holy flame finally fused together. Instantly, one aura of death, one aura of destruction, and one aura of extermination quickly fused together. At the same time, the moment the three auras fused, a terrifying five-colored pillar of light erupted. The appearance of the pillar of light caused the sky to tremble even more violently. When Li Lingtian unleashed the taboo-like existence, it was as if the world had come to an end. The destructive beam of light directly bombarded the inner core of the ice and fire strange beast. The inner core attack of a demon beast was the most terrifying existence and the most risky attack of a demon beast. If it failed, the demon beast would die. However, under normal circumstances, the demon beast would only use the inner core attack when it was confident. Moreover, they would only attack when they were about to die. It was also an attack that would bring both of them down. In the air, a five-colored light pillar and a fist-sized destructive ice and fire inner core quickly bombarded the other party. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded, and a destructive force wreaked havoc. The two destructive attacks collided. For a moment, the two attacks did not separate, and it was unknown who would win. Blood continued to flow from the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth as his face turned increasingly pale. The ice and fire mutated beast also revealed a shocked expression in its eyes. This was because it did not expect this human who was inferior to it to have such terrifying divine arts. The weak ice and fire chi combined with divine arts could actually be on par with it. Now, it did not have any other attacks at all because after the inner core was used, its body was like a shell, without any attack or defense. It was just like the soul of a human super expert. After the soul left the body did not have any defense or attack at all. It was like a wooden carving that could be destroyed. Pfft! Li Lingtian's eyes were filled with fear. The injuries on his body became more and more intense, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The moment he spat out blood, the ice and fire energy in his body trembled. He understood that the ice and fire energy was counterattacking. Roar! At this moment, the ice and fire exotic beast's eyes revealed a trace of fear, and at the same time, it seemed to be begging. Since this inner core was its real name, it would be injured or even killed even if Li Lingtian was destroyed. Its cultivation would never progress. When Li Lingtian saw this, his heart stirred. His gaze changed several times before he released his hands and his body scattered. He shifted the light pillar of ice, fire, and 9 heavens and bombarded it in another direction. His body swayed and he spat out another mouthful of blood. Forcefully diverting the attack would cause greater damage to the target, but it was much better than destroying himself. Moreover, seeing that the ice and fire exotic beast also looked a little regretful, he did not have the heart to kill it. He knew that if this continued, he would definitely die, and so would the ice and fire beasts. When the beast attacked with its core, it was almost passive. It couldn't retrieve its core, but he could change the direction of his god art. This was easier than when the beast retrieved its core. The inner core was withdrawn, and the light pillar of the ice/fire/9 heavens directly bombarded the precipice, instantly turning the precipice into ashes. A pitch-black hole appeared within a radius of 10 miles. No one knew how deep it was. Li Lingtian's body fell rapidly as the world of ice and fire in the air vanished. When Longda saw Li Lingtian's condition, he dashed forward and caught Li Lingtian before he fell to the ground. Pfft! Li Lingtian spat out another mouthful of blood as he looked at the ice and fire exotic beast in the sky. At this moment, the ice and fire exotic beast was extremely weak and didn't have any hostility. Even though it was a mutated beast, it knew that Li Lingtian had withdrawn his attack due to his injury. Otherwise, it would have died from its inner core being destroyed. It was also shocked by Li Lingtian's strength. Submit or destroy. Li Lingtian swallowed a healing pill to stabilize his injuries. He looked coldly at the ice and fire beast in the sky. This ice and fire beast was a level 8 beast. Whether it was the beast core or the blood essence of this ice and fire beast, they were both precious treasures to him. It could help him increase his cultivation. Now that he was already injured, he could not return empty-handed. After saying that, he circulated the true essence in his entire body and slowly displayed the 5 elements. Suddenly, 5 wills of the Great Path appeared between heaven and earth. The wills of the Great Path carried the will of destruction. Li Lingtian's body slowly levitated before he stood firmly in the air. The appearance of the 5 elements Tao intent immediately made the ice and fire strange beasts feel fear. This was because the 5 elements Tao intent carried the will of heaven and earth, like the might of heaven. Exotic beasts of ice and fire were born from heaven and earth, so they were naturally in awe of this kind of will. Furthermore, he saw the light orb in Li Lingtian's hand. The light orb had transformed into 99 5-colored spiritual pearls that were spinning around Li Lingtian. The 99 5-colored spirit pearls spun rapidly like stars. A terrifying small world appeared beside Li Lingtian. Although the ice and fire exotic beast didn't know what this thing was, it was the first time it had encountered such a threat. It understood that this ability was much stronger than the ice, fire, 9 heavens that Lingtian had used. It could directly wipe out its existence. Roar! 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 The ice and fire exotic beast roared a few times. Although its voice was loud, it seemed to be showing weakness. Faced with Li Lingtian's formidable strength, the ice and fire exotic beast did not dare to act recklessly. After all, its inner core had just been injured and could not unleash its full power. Moreover, Li Lingtian had let it go once in the beginning. If Li Lingtian had not diverted his attack, its inner core would have been destroyed. Seeing that the ice and fire exotic beast had submitted, Li Lingtian slowly retracted the 5-colored spirit pearl. The 5 elements Tao will slowly vanished from the world. Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood after he was done. He then cast a magic art and pointed it at the ice and fire beast's head. The beast did not resist. However, as soon as the spell entered the beast's mind, it roared a few times in pain. However, the pain gradually disappeared as Li Lingtian's consciousness was imprinted in his awareness. As long as it did not disobey Li Lingtian, it would be fine. However, if it were to disobey or go against Li Lingtian would be able to kill it with a single thought. Roar! The ice and fire exotic beast landed on the ground and came to Li Lingtian's side. At this moment, it no longer had any hostility. Pfft! Li Lingtian staggered and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he hurriedly threw a pill into his mouth. He glanced at the ice and fire strange beast and threw 2 pills at the same time. One was a healing pill, and the other was a heaven demon pill. The ice and fire exotic beast swallowed the pill without hesitation when it saw Li Lingtian throwing it at it. After that, Li Lingtian meditated and recuperated while Longda stood in front of him. The exotic beast of ice and fire was also recuperating nearby. After all, Li Lingtian's 9 heavens of ice/fire was too terrifying and almost destroyed its inner core. Now that it had the elixir to heal itself, it would not miss this opportunity. For a moment, the 2 people and 1 beast in front of the canyon did not move at all. After a full day, Li Lingtian opened his eyes. His complexion was much better, but his injuries had yet to fully recover. He needed some time to recuperate. The ice and fire exotic beast was indeed an exotic beast. Its injuries were quickly healed by Li Lingtian's elixir. Ice and fire snow lotus, roar. When it saw Li Lingtian open his eyes, the ice and fire beast roared at him. However, its roar was not disrespectful, as if it was talking to Li Lingtian. However, Li Lingtian had consciousness in the sea of consciousness of the ice and fire exotic beast. He did not even need to shout to understand what the beast was trying to say. Looking at the ice and fire exotic beast, Li Lingtian nodded and sent his consciousness over. Instantly, the exotic beast of ice and fire's eyes were filled with excitement and curiosity because it could communicate with Li Lingtian through its consciousness. Let's go. There are a few good things in the canyon. Let's go in and take a look. Li Lingtian stood up and told Longda. Following that, the ice and fire exotic beast led the way while Longda and Li Lingtian followed behind as they headed into the canyon. After entering the canyon, Li Lingtian and Longda were shocked. This place was actually a world of glaciers and flames. No wonder there were strange beasts of ice and fire here. Such a canyon actually had a world of its own. There were really all kinds of strange things. After walking for a full 10 miles, the ice and fire exotic beast brought Li Lingtian and the others to the end of the canyon. Li Lingtian was stunned when he reached the end of the canyon. Each of the 9 ice and fire snow lotuses was 100,000 years old. This was the first time he had seen such a treasure. Although there were a few in the past, they were all gifts from others. There were also countless 100,000-year-old natural treasures in the spiritual herbal gardens, but these herbs were only used to refine pills to increase cultivation. He had never encountered anything he really needed. This time, Li Lingtian's heart skipped a beat when he encountered the ice-fire snow lotus in this place. With the ice and fire snow lotus, he could refine elixirs suitable for his cultivation. Even if he used it directly, it could also improve his ice and fire chi, ice, fire, 9 heavens, and his flaming sacred body and ice soul martial spirit. Ice and fire snow lotus, born from heaven and earth. It increases the power of ice and fire. Li Lingtian said calmly with an excited expression on his face. He looked at the ice and fire exotic beast and saw that it did not show any signs of abnormality. He immediately understood that the ice and fire snow lotus was useless against the ice and fire exotic beasts. This was because the ice and fire mutated beast was born from heaven and earth. It already had the body of ice and fire, so it didn't need the ice and fire snow lotus at all. After a moment of silence, Li Lingtian took out the 9 jade boxes. He sat cross-legged and cast spells one after another. After he finished casting the spell, he grabbed at the air with one hand, and a mysterious force flew toward the ice and fire snow lotus. The air trembled slightly as the ice-fire snow lotus left the ice-fire crystal and flew toward Li Lingtian. It then entered the jade box and Li Lingtian quickly cast a series of spells before finally sealing the jade box. Then, he used the same method. After a full 5 minutes, he finally put away the 9 ice-fire snow lotuses. After keeping the ice-fire snow lotus, the ice-fire exotic beast led Li Lingtian and the other 2 into a fiery red cave not far away. The cave was 2 meters tall and could only accommodate the ice-fire exotic beast. However, for humans, this hole was big enough. Inside the cave, one side was filled with the power of fiery flames, while the other side was filled with the world of ice sculptures. Such a magical cave made Li Lingtian feel the wonders of this world. The deeper he went, the stronger the power of the flames and the icy cold air became. Longda's body could not help but tremble. As Li Lingtian and the ice and fire exotic beast both possessed the ice and fire body, Longda had no advantage in this place despite having the true dragon body. Longda, wait for me outside. Li Lingtian took a glance at Longda. A place like this would not do him any good. If he were to get injured here, it would not be a big deal. Longda paused for a moment, then nodded and left, flying out of the cave. He understood what Li Lingtian meant. With Li Lingtian's cultivation base, he could not help much if Li Lingtian was in danger. He might even be a burden to Li Lingtian if he went in. After Long De left, Li Lingtian No. 2 continued to walk inside. Li Lingtian could feel that the cave was going deeper and deeper. By now, they should have been 1,000 meters underground. Furthermore, the further they went, the steeper the terrain became. Hush! Finally, after half an hour, Li Lingtian arrived before a restriction. Li Lingtian was surprised when he saw the restriction. He did not expect there to be a restriction in this place. Then, he looked at the ice and fire exotic beast. The ice and fire exotic beast kept shaking its head as if it had never been here before. It was also curious about this place. Move aside and protect me. Li Lingtian looked at the restriction and then at the ice and fire exotic beast. After saying that, he cast a few array formations. Immediately, array formations of various sizes appeared within a 10-meter radius. After everything was done, the divine array diagram was displayed. The divine array diagram floated in the air. He carefully examined the invisible restriction in front of him. His divine sense also slowly extended over at this moment to check the origin of this array formation. Li Lingtian's gaze turned grave as his expression kept changing. What a miraculous divine formation. I didn't expect a divine array to appear in this place. Li Lingtian was extremely surprised as he muttered to himself. Following that, the divine array diagram swayed and a golden radiance appeared. He waved his hands like a butterfly, casting spells on the divine array diagram. The divine array diagram could delay all spells, so he didn't have to worry about the speed of the spells not being able to keep up. Li Lingtian condensed thousands of magic arts onto the divine array diagram. When the last magic art appeared, the divine array diagram burst into a dazzling radiance. The light shone on the restriction, and suddenly, a subtle sound was heard. The restriction melted away like snow melting in spring. With a wave of his hand, the countless restriction formations behind him vanished as he beckoned at the ice and fire exotic beast. The ice and fire exotic beast's body flashed and quickly flew over to the other side of the restriction. After the ice and fire exotic beast entered, Li Lingtian quickly followed suit. Shoo! Li Lingtian walked forward step by step and finally arrived at a medium-sized stone chamber. It was only 1,000 meters on the way, but during this distance, they encountered a total of 7 array formations. Moreover, the 7 array formations were all divine array formations. The deeper they went, the more powerful the array formation became. After the 7 arrays were broken, they arrived at this stone room. Li Lingtian sized up the stone chamber and found that it was only 100 square meters in size. However, there was a mysterious and destructive aura inside. This aura was also the fusion of the power of fire and the power of ice. However, there was also a hint of mystery in the aura. It was not just the aura of the 2 extreme attributes. Li Lingtian had no idea what it was and had never heard of it. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as Li Lingtian stepped into the stone chamber, 2 air-piercing sounds were heard from inside. Li Lingtian was taken aback. Humans were most afraid of places like this because humans were naturally afraid of the unknown. Li Lingtian could not help but shudder when he heard such a voice. He raised his head and was stunned. He could no longer shift his gaze away as he stared blankly at the back of the air-breaking sound in the sky. In the air, 2 crystal-clear beads were constantly spinning and flying around the stone room. Divine spark. Gulp. Divine spark, it's actually a divine spark. Ice-type divine spark, fire-type divine spark. Looking at the 2 pearls in the air, Li Lingtian cried out in surprise. He then let out a cry in his throat and gulped. This bead wasn't just a bead, but a finger-sized crystal. The pearl was almost crystal clear. If it wasn't for the faint fire aura, fiery red halo, blue halo, and icy cold aura on the pearl, he wouldn't have known that it was a godhead. Because he had encountered the divinity of Ji Yi's father, he could tell that these 2 pearls were divinity at a glance. Moreover, they were the divine sparks of a fire and ice mighty figure. he didn't expect that there would be two godheads in this place. To martial artists, godheads were legends and myths. Without a godhood, a martial artist would forever remain a martial artist and would never be able to break through to a higher level. This was because the divine persona was the divine persona of a true god from the upper realm. It was also left behind after the upper realm's mighty figure died. It carried the wisdom and talent of the upper realm's mighty figure. It carried a terrifying and mysterious divine chi. To martial artists, it was simply a heaven-defying treasure. If he could obtain a divine spark, he would have a chance to break through to become a powerful martial god and achieve terrifying power, achieving a miraculous and heaven-defying achievement. Li Lingtian had only learned about its power and strength from ancient books because he had never tested the power of the divinity. However, the divinity had helped him last time. Don't reveal your aura. Li Lingtian sat down cross-legged and spoke to the ice and fire exotic beast behind him. After that, he circulated all his genuine vitality and activated his flaming sacred body and ice soul martial spirit to sense the godhead. The stone room was extremely quiet. Li Lingtian's ice soul martial soul and flaming sacred body slowly sensed the godhead in the air. After an unknown period of time, the divine persona in the air gradually began to tremble. Perhaps it was because they were waiting for someone to arrive. The two godheads did not resist Li Lingtian's senses. Instead, he slowly approached Li Lingtian. The godhead came before Li Lingtian and he began to wave his hands. He cast spells one after another and controlled the two godheads. Then, his divine sense and the godheads connected. Swoosh. Phew. With two soft sounds, the godhead disappeared and entered Li Lingtian's upper dantian between his eyebrows. Li Lingtian did not open his eyes. Instead, he quickly circulated his cultivation technique and circulated the heaven and earth reincarnation. Even though the godheads were not powerful, the combination of an ice-type godhead and a fire-type godhead was still dangerous. Li Lingtian did not want to be killed by two godheads. He could only use the heaven and earth reincarnation technique to confine the two godheads in his upper dantian. He would slowly refine it in the future. Only after refining the godhead could he use it and unleash its power bit by bit. Dividing the treasures. 1. Li Lingtian quickly used the heaven and earth reincarnation technique to confine the godhead while stabilizing his quintessential essence. One had to know that the entry of a divine persona could have a huge impact on true essence. At this critical moment, he did not dare to let anything happen to himself. Ice-type godhead, fire-type godhead, these two ultimate godheads meeting was indeed not a good thing. However, Li Lingtian possessed the flaming sacred body and ice soul martial soul. Moreover, he didn't have to worry about the compatibility of ice and fire when he cultivated the heaven and earth reincarnation art. If other experts saw this divine spark, they would definitely only dare to use one type of divine spark. In fact, if it was an expert of other attributes, this godhead could only be watched. After all, the ice and fire godheads were the most domineering godheads of the 5 elements. Ordinary experts wouldn't dare to fight with ice and fire experts. After an hour, Li Lingtian slowly suppressed his quintessential essence. He was relieved when he realized that the two godheads had no effect on him. Although he could not use the divine spark for the time being, it would be extremely beneficial for his future cultivation. Perhaps one day, when his cultivation reached the level of a martial saint or even a martial god, he would refine the two godheads. At that time, the power of the ice, fire, 9 heavens would be heaven-defying. However, he now understood that his flaming sacred body and fire-type godhood might not be of much use to him, but one more godhood was better than one less. Li Lingtian stopped his cultivation and stood up. He then glanced at the ice and fire exotic beast at the side. Li Lingtian nodded in satisfaction when he noticed that the ice and fire exotic beast was still waiting blankly at the side. He then searched the stone room and found 2 exquisite jade boxes and 2 rings. Li Lingtian did not think too much about it. The ring must be an interspatial ring. Previously, Li Lingtian had obtained young Master Yunfeng's interspatial ring and had given it to Tang Qingyue. Although these worldly possessions were nothing to them, they would be even happier if they had an interspatial ring. However, there were too many girls around Li Lingtian and he did not have many interspatial rings, so he could only give them to one person. Li Lingtian had thought about it before. He had the Divine Dragon Ring, the Underworld Ring, and the Holy Demon Ring on him. However, he did not dare to let his wife use these 3 items. If anything were to happen, it would be too late for regrets. Now that he had 2 interspatial rings, he could give them to Huangfu Yuyan and Tang Zimen. He could give them a surprise when the time came. After keeping the 2 rings, Li Lingtian placed the 2 jade boxes into the Divine Dragon Ring. He then searched around the ring and found nothing else. Li Lingtian then left the stone room with the ice and fire exotic beast. When he returned, he did not expect that he still had to crack this array formation. By the time he left, 4 hours had passed. Li Lingtian smiled confidently when he saw Long Da's worried expression. "Young master, how is it?" Long Da asked curiously when he saw Li Lingtian come out. Li Lingtian was not bothered by Long Da's question. After all, Long Da was his bodyguard. Moreover, he was one of them, so there was no need to be wary. "I obtained an ice godhead and a fire godhead inside. They were temporarily subdued by me, but I didn't have the time to refine them." Li Lingtian did not hide anything as he revealed the matter of the 2 godheads. "Congratulations, young master. You've obtained an ice godhead and a fire godhead. When the time comes, the power of the ice, fire, 9 heavens will be even more powerful. You might even be able to use this godhead to break through to a higher realm." Long Da was instantly excited. Even though Li Lingtian was the one who obtained the divinity, he was even happier than Long Da himself. To him, the stronger Li Lingtian was, the happier he was. After all, Li Lingtian was his master. In the future, he would have to rely on Li Lingtian to improve his cultivation. "Let's go, we'll continue searching. Find a safe place. I want to cultivate." Li Lingtian pondered for a moment before he spoke. He couldn't delay the search for the Divine Martial Hall, but he had to recuperate from his injuries. Otherwise, when he encountered a super expert, his injuries would affect the battle. This subordinate understands. Long Da nodded before bringing Li Lingtian away. Li Lingtian kept the ice-fire beast in the Divine Dragon Ring. The ice-fire beast was also injured during the battle with Li Lingtian. Moreover, it was severely injured. Moreover, the ice and fire exotic beast was a tier 8 level 8 being. Li Lingtian wanted to use it as his trump card. Although the ice and fire beast was at a disadvantage against Li Lingtian, it was because they had the same attributes. Furthermore, Li Lingtian had unleashed the 5 elements will. The terror of the 9 heavenly stars had terrified the ice and fire beast. Otherwise, it would not have been able to tame the ice and fire beast. If the ice and fire exotic beast were to encounter other powerhouses, even a 9th heaven martial saint might not be able to defeat it. Hence, Li Lingtian did not want to bring out the ice and fire exotic beast at the moment. The 2 of them quickly flew forward. On the way, they would take a detour when they encountered powerful demon beasts. In such a place, as long as there was a big battle, it would attract other experts. He didn't want to be an Oriole, so he tried his best not to make a move. After flying for 2 hours, he finally found a good cave. The cave was not small and was large enough for Li Lingtian and the rest to live in. Outside of the blink, Li Lingtian cast more than a dozen formations of various sizes before he settled in. Long Da stood guard outside. As long as they did not encounter any super powerful powerhouses, the array formation would not be discovered. Li Lingtian was not worried about that. Big brother Lingtian, you're injured. What happened? After entering the cave, Li Lingtian called Tang Qingyue and the rest out. Tang Zimen could tell that Li Lingtian was injured when she saw his appearance. she quickly asked in concern as she walked forward to hold Li Lingtian's arm and looked at him with her beautiful eyes. The other girls were also looking at Li Lingtian, waiting for his answer. Li Lingtian's injury was a matter of utmost importance to them. They would rather be injured than see Li Lingtian get hurt. Not long ago, I encountered a strange beast of ice and fire. A Tier 8 exotic beast of ice and fire is extremely terrifying. Even the Desolation 10 consecutive strikes couldn't hurt it at all. In the end, it had to use the 9 heaven stars to subdue it. Li Lingtian explained the situation of the battle against the ice and fire monsters in a relaxed manner. However, the girls were still worried. Fortunately, Li Lingtian had managed to escape unscathed. Now, as long as he recovered from his injuries, he should be fine. Level 8 Ice and Fire Exotic Beast? I didn't expect there to be such a mutated beast in this place. Ice and fire mutated beasts are born from heaven and earth. They are terrifyingly strong and have innate ice and fire bodies. Being able to submit to this ice and fire strange beast will be quite beneficial to your future cultivation. Yes, this is also a blessing for Big Brother. Oh right, Big Brother Ling Tian, what does that ice and fire exotic beast look like? For a moment, the girls were chattering non-stop. Huangfu Yuyan was happy for Li Lingtian. After all, taming an 8th Firmament Martial Saint demonic beast would be of great help to them in the future. Ice and fire mutated beasts were mutated beasts with terrifying power. With such a helper, they could deal with many super experts in the future. That strange beast of ice and fire is cultivating in the Divine Dragon Ring. It has also suffered a lot of injuries. However, it brought me to 2 treasures. Li Lingtian's face cracked into a smile and he looked relaxed. As he spoke, he activated his divine senses and took out 2 rings and 2 jade boxes from the Divine Dragon Ring. As for the Divine Spark, he had already kept it in his upper dantian and could not take it out. An interspatial ring. It really is an interspatial ring. The girls looked at the 2 rings and were extremely excited. The 2 interspatial rings were both ancient and beautiful, much more beautiful than those accessories. Yes, there are indeed 2 interspatial rings. One of them has an ice attribute, and the other has a fire attribute. Therefore, you can use these 2 rings according to their attributes. When the time comes, I'll find a ring for each of you. Li Lingtian levitated the 2 rings in the air and erased the aura from them. As for what treasures were inside, he did not check them out. Then, he opened the interspatial ring and took out all the items inside. Inside the 2 rings were top-grade spirit stones and countless heavenly and earthly treasures. There were over 10,000 supreme-grade spirit stones and 6 or 7 treasures. Moreover, these treasures were all existences of the divine artifact level. Li Lingtian was elated when he saw these treasures. These treasures could be used by Huangfu Yuyan and the others. Give the ice element interspatial ring to Qingling and the fire element interspatial ring to Yingying. Choose these divine artifacts for yourselves. If they are suitable for you, refine them. I'll find some for you in the future. Li Lingtian gave the 2 interspatial rings to Qingling and Shenyuan Yingying. Fire element. None of the girls were of the fire element. Only Shenyuan Yingying had the 5 elements sacred body and could use the fire element. Qingling was an ice element, while Tang Qingyue was an ice element. However, Tang Qingyue already had an interspatial ring, so this interspatial ring was naturally given to Qingling. After that, the girls distributed the divine artifacts. They usually didn't fight at all, and they didn't need treasures, so they naturally didn't fight for them. Besides, they were either Li Lingtian's wives or girls close to him. Naturally, they would not fight over the treasure. Li Lingtian stored all the supreme-grade spirit stones into the Divine Dragon Ring. He carefully opened the 2 jade boxes, wondering what was inside. Swoosh. The first jade box opened with a crisp sound. A terrifying aura appeared. Immediately, the girls flashed quickly and left the jade box far away. Their cultivation levels were not high, so they naturally did not dare to touch the unknown items in the jade box. However, when they saw that the jade box was only emitting a destructive aura, they came to the front of the jade box and looked at the items inside. They were shocked and excited. Raging Flames Divine Sword, Ice Soul Divine Sword. Looking at the items in the jade box, everyone was extremely shocked. Their faces were filled with excitement, but their destructive aura made them feel afraid. Bursts of destructive flame aura threatened to destroy the cave. Tang Qingyue and the others were either wood or water elemental. When they encountered such a flame aura, they subconsciously put up a defense to avoid being injured by the flame aura. Inside the jade box lay a small, fiery red sword that was an inch long. The small sword was extremely exquisite, and its entire body was red as if it was about to drip blood. The destructive flaming breath was emitted from this exquisite sword. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the blood-red sword and felt the destructive flaming breath. This aura was the aura of raging flames. However, this aura was completely different from the aura of raging flames in the divine martial continent. It was on another level. Raging Flames Divine Sword. The expression on Li Lingtian's face changed several times as he looked at the small sword. A divine weapon, it was definitely a super divine weapon, no different from the Heaven Extreme Tyrant Emperor Saber. Unexpectedly, the jade box contained the Raging Flame Divine Sword. It was a Raging Flame Divine Sword born from the fire element of heaven and earth. However, this Raging Flame Divine Sword had been sealed and had not been refined. Otherwise, it would not be so small. Raging Flames Divine Sword. Are you sure this is the Raging Flames Divine Sword? A fire-type divine artifact. Could it be that the Raging Flames Divine Sword was born from the heavens? I didn't expect it to be the Raging Flames Divine Sword. Instantly, the girls were shocked. Although their cultivation base was not as high as Li Lingtian's, they had read many ancient books and had some understanding of the treasures in the world. The Raging Flames Divine Sword was definitely an innate divine weapon born from heaven and earth. However, it was definitely not that easy to unleash its power. The Raging Flame Divine Sword didn't have the slightest aura. It could only be used by experts with fire-type martial souls. Moreover, it was definitely the most overbearing existence in the flames. That's right, it's definitely the Raging Flames Divine Sword. Li Lingtian did not have the slightest intention of touching the Raging Flames Divine Sword. With his current cultivation base, it was impossible for him to tame the Raging Flames Divine Sword. If he were to suffer a backlash from the Raging Flames Divine Sword, it would be too late for regrets. Could it be that the Ice Soul Divine Sword is over there? After pondering for a moment, he looked at the other jade box, and his expression began to change. There were ice and fire snow lotuses and ice and fire monsters in that canyon. There were ice and fire godheads in the cave. If he obtained 2 jade boxes from there, one of them contained the Raging Flame Divine Sword, while the other jade box contained the Ice Soul Divine Sword, he would naturally suspect it. As they spoke, all the girls looked at the other jade box. Li Lingtian then cast a few spells to store the jade box of the Flaming Divine Sword before putting it into the Divine Dragon Ring to prevent any problems from happening when he opened the other jade box. After doing everything, he activated his Divine Sense and opened the other jade box. With a soft sound, a destructive cold air immediately soared into the sky. The entire cave was frozen into a world of glaciers. The girls were prepared and did not turn into ice sculptures. However, they were trembling and their teeth were chattering. However, they couldn't help but walk forward out of curiosity. Looking at the treasures in the jade box, everyone already had a rough idea of the outcome, but they were not completely sure. Looking at the jade box, an exquisite small sword appeared. The small sword was exactly the same as the previous Raging Flame Divine Sword. However, the previous Raging Flame Divine Sword was fiery red, while the current small sword was crystal clear with a faint light blue color. It was emitting a destructive icy aura. Li Lingtian and the others were no longer as shocked as they were at the beginning. Because he was mentally prepared, he roughly understood the contents of the jade box. It really is the Ice Soul Divine Sword, Li Lingtian said calmly as his eyes shone with a fiery light. The appearance of the two divine swords of ice and fire in this place was indeed a great harvest. The Ice Soul Divine Sword has also appeared. I just didn't expect that the ice and fire divine sparks would be together, and that the ice and fire divine swords would be together as well. Could it be that ice and fire are incompatible? In this world, all attributes and things have extremes. Similarly, they can also complement each other. Yes, Big Brother Ling Tian merged ice and fire together and created a heaven-defying trump card. If I can combine the ice and fire divine swords into one, I wonder what kind of heaven-defying power it will unleash. The girls looked at the ice soul happily before Li Lingtian put it away. The last sentence stunned the girls. The Raging Flame Divine Sword was enough to destroy the world, and the Ice Soul Divine Sword could freeze the world. These two ultimate treasures were unique even in the Divine Martial Continent. Divine artifacts had never appeared in the Divine Martial Continent before, let alone a divine artifact that was born from heaven and earth. If the two divine swords were to be combined into one as Li Lingtian had said, it was unknown what kind of heaven-defying effect it would have. It's not possible for now. After all, it's not easy to refine such a divine weapon. It's only possible after refining two divine weapons. At least, you won't be able to refine the Ice Soul Divine Sword and the Raging Flame Divine Sword when you're in the Martial Emperor realm. Huangfu Yuyan also wanted to see the power of the Ice Soul Divine Sword and the Raging Flames Divine Sword combined into one. However, she understood that it would not be so easy to combine them. At the very least, Li Lingtian could not achieve such power at the moment. After all, Li Lingtian's cultivation was too low. Let's rest for a while and go find the Divine Martial Hall later. Li Lingtian put away the Ice Soul Divine Sword. He did not give the two divine swords to Tang Qingyue and the others as their cultivation was not high enough. If he could not use the two swords of ice and fire at the perfected Ninth Firmament Martial Emperor realm, Tang Qingyue and the others would not be able to do anything about it. With that, he melted the glacier in the cave and the cave returned to its original appearance. Entering this place and obtaining the Ice Soul Divine Sword and the Raging Flame Divine Sword was indeed exciting. However, he could not use these two divine swords for the time being. However, as long as he had the divine swords, he could use them in the future. Following that, Li Lingtian quickly recovered from his injuries while Tang Qingyue and the rest rested in the cave. After all, the time in the Divine Dragon Ring was different from the outside world. They had to get used to the time on both sides so as not to affect them. To Li Lingtian's surprise, the aura in this place helped him recover faster than anywhere else. In other words, the aura of this place would help him recover from his injuries. In a short 5 days, his injuries had recovered, and his mental state had reached the peak of his peak. After recovering, Li Lingtian had Huangfu Yuyan and the others enter the Divine Dragon Ring before leaving the cave. He then called Long Dachao and flew away quickly. There was the Divine Martial Hall in the God's Fall mountain range. Some super powerhouses and large family clans naturally knew, but not many people could enter. Those who entered rarely found a seat in the Divine Martial Hall, let alone enter it. Moreover, even if they encountered the Divine Martial Hall, they would need a Divine Martial Token to enter the Divine Martial Hall. Generally speaking, a Divine Martial Token would be refined by its owner. It would be useless for others to take it. To Li Lingtian, these matters were nothing. Although Qing Ling could sense the Divine Martial Token more clearly, Li Lingtian had refined it so that he could use the Divine Martial Token in Qing Ling's hand. Now, the main thing was that they had not found the entrance to the Divine Martial Hall. Everything was just empty talk. On this day, Li Lingtian and Longda were flying at high speed. Along the way, they encountered many rare herbs that were more than 10,000 years old. Although such herbs were not of much help to Li Lingtian, as a super divine alchemist, he was naturally interested and fond of herbs. Naturally, he would not give up easily. As the two of them flew, they searched for the super experts here. However, after searching for so long, they did not find any clues. Even if they encountered some experts, they would not know the entrance to the divine martial hall. Swoosh. Swoosh. Li Lingtian landed with a surprised expression on his face as he looked into the distance. In the distance, there was a vast blue lake. The surface of the lake was calm and there were no ripples at all. It was like a pool of stagnant water. However, at this moment, the lake's surface emitted a dense mysterious aura. This mysterious aura was the aura in the air, but it was countless times denser than the aura in the air. It could also be said that the mysterious aura in the air was emitted from this lake. The faint mysterious aura was as dense as a thick fog. Young master, all these people are gathered here. I believe this is the entrance to the divine martial hall. Longda looked into the distance before speaking to Li Lingtian. At the edge of the lake, there were already hundreds of super experts gathered. The super experts who came here were all existences above the seventh sky of the martial saint realm. When the two of them saw these experts, their expressions changed several times. There were so many supreme experts. They could not deal with any one of them. If they really fought for the treasure, they would definitely be cannon fodder. Hundreds of super martial saints were standing at the edge of the lake. They didn't dare to touch the water or float on the lake. They were all frightened. The two of them looked at each other and then found a hidden place to hide. Going to the lake now was undoubtedly courting death. Those powerhouses would definitely not mind killing two martial emperor powerhouses. To these powerhouses, it was as easy as crushing ants to get rid of one or two martial monarch realm experts. Although Li Lingtian and Longda were not ordinary martial supreme, they did not want to provoke these martial saint powerhouses. They did not want to attract the attention of all the martial saints. If that happened, they might pose a threat to the martial saint powerhouses. Each of them could use one move to destroy the two of them. After hiding, he retracted his divine sense and carefully looked at the movement in front of him. Magical Lake 1. There were already hundreds of martial arts saints gathered on the surface of the lake. Furthermore, there were 9 other people whom Li Lingtian had encountered. They were the 9 terrifying figures who wanted to kill Li Lingtian and his companion by devouring their blood essence and vital energy. 9 powerful existences stood alone on one side, forming a strange independent circle. It was also the target of fear for other experts because the experts here were basically in groups of 3 to 5. There were very few experts who were alone. Even a martial saint would not have the slightest advantage in this place. If they did not join forces, they would be killed. Swoosh. Swoosh. From time to time, there would be super experts flying over. They landed on the edge of the lake and did not dare to go deep into it. All the experts were looking at the lake as if they were waiting for something to happen. Li Lingtian stood aside and paid little attention to them. With such powerhouses around, they would react immediately if there was any movement. As a martial monarch realm expert, there was no need for him to take the risk. At this time, he could take a break and recover his energy. He would act according to the situation. A day passed. The aura on the surface of the lake was getting thicker and thicker. The stronger the aura on the surface of the lake, the more all the experts retreated, as if they were deeply afraid of this aura. Li Lingtian was shocked to see this. This aura was very helpful for his healing, but these martial saints were deeply afraid of this aura. How could he not be shocked by such a situation? Gradually, he fell into deep thought. After an unknown period of time, a tearing sound interrupted his thoughts. Hiss. An ear-piercing sound rang out in the air. As the sound faded, a light shadow appeared in the air above the lake. The light shadow was a spatial tear that had been torn apart. This light shadow was 100 meters long and 10 meters wide. At the same time, a hole appeared on the surface of the lake. The hole was not a shadow, but a black hole. The size of the black hole was exactly the same as the light shadow in the sky. In this situation, the black hole on the lake was like the reflection of the light shadow in space, making all the experts feel deep fear. The lake water was extremely clear. However, after the light shadow cut such a large hole in the lake, it could be seen that the lake water was not clear. It was like a pitch-black stone wall. How could it still be clear? Moreover, the lake water seemed to be solid, which made it look extremely strange. Boom! Boom! The hole in the lake emitted muffled sounds that were no different from thunder. The hundreds of experts outside hesitated for a moment, not knowing if they should go in. This place might be the entrance to the divine martial hall. If they didn't go in, they would forever lose hope. However, if they went in, this place would be extremely terrifying. However, at this moment, a sound of breaking through the air rang out. A white figure tore through the space like a meteor and entered the opening in an instant. When the white figure disappeared into the black hole on the lake, the black hole was closing quickly. Seeing this, all the experts understood something. If they hesitated any longer, they would lose their chance. The black hole was closing quickly. In a second, the black hole was only half its original size. This figure was none other than Li Lingtian. While all the experts were hesitating, he noticed that the opening was closing up quickly. He quickly called out to Qingling to confirm that this was the entrance. Without waiting for Qingling to react, he put her into the divine dragon ring, and then he called Long Hao into the divine dragon ring. The moment Long Da entered the divine dragon ring, Li Lingtian had already flown away. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed 100 miles and appeared in front of all the powerhouses. When these experts saw him, he had already entered the black hole. The whole process took less than 3 seconds. In 3 seconds, the black hole became smaller and smaller. Whoosh! 5 seconds later, the black hole was safely closed, and the surface of the lake returned to its original state. Countless experts looked at the surface of the lake in a daze, their faces filled with regret. When Li Lingtian entered the pitch black hole, it was as if he had entered a world of endless darkness. Unable to extend his divine sense, his vision was pitch black. His body was wrapped in a mysterious aura as he quickly descended. It was as if he had been thrown into the 18th level of hell and fell endlessly. In fact, he did not even know if he was rising or falling at the end. Because his body could no longer sense the situation outside, he could only allow the dark aura to wrap around him and teleport him. Boom! Plop! With a muffled sound, his entire body shook. He immediately saw stars and almost fainted from the impact. Li Lingtian understood that he must have hit the wall. A mighty 9th-level martial emperor expert could only hide it in his heart when he encountered such a thing. If other experts found out about this, or if word got out, he would no longer be able to keep his face. This was truly embarrassing. A dignified martial emperor powerhouse was knocked into the wall until he saw stars. He was too embarrassed to say it out loud, so he could only swallow it. However, he soon fell down again into the icy pond. The icy cold pond water stirred him up and he immediately woke up. Damn it, can't you let him stop? Li Lingtian cursed in his heart. At first, he saw stars and now he had fallen into the pool. However, he quickly came out of the water. It was still pitch black, but he could see a trace of light. Light, in a distant place, this pool of water was unknown. Moreover, a terrifying and threatening aura was coming from the bottom of the pool. Upon discovering this aura, Li Lingtian swam faster than a fish toward the light in the distance. It was as if he had encountered a shark. This action was not slower than flying. Crash! With a soft sound, Li Lingtian's body shot out of the pool like a sharp sword. In the beginning, they didn't dare to leave the water's surface in case they were hit again by the floating water. But now, they could see what was in front of them, which was a trace of light. He left the water and flew toward the light in the distance. After flying for half an hour, he finally landed on the ground. However, this place was not the divine martial hall. There was not even a shadow of the divine martial hall. It was just like the outside world. The only thing that made him feel at ease was that there was no sky above. The light in the sky was also gray. In other words, this place was not the world above, but underground. In the darkness, a little gray light was also endless light. Li Lingtian activated his divine consciousness and summoned Dragon's Cry. After Long De came out and saw the situation here, he was also puzzled and curious. The two of them didn't say anything. They walked forward slowly while sizing up the situation in front of them like gentlemen. However, what made people collapse was that they couldn't use divine sense at all in this place. Even Li Lingtian could only extend his divine consciousness to a distance of 100 meters. Even his vision was not limited to that. The only advantage was that he could see other existences from his blind spot. This was something that comforted Li Lingtian. So many passageways. After walking for half a day, they finally saw a huge stone wall. They didn't know how high or how big this stone wall was because it blocked their vision. Everything in front of them was just a stone wall. However, there were hundreds of passages on this stone wall. Long De looked at these passages and immediately cried out in surprise. Encountering such a situation was really a form of torture. Who knew how to go through hundreds of passages? Swoosh. At this moment, a figure descended. A figure appeared. It was an 8th Sky Martial Saint. The 8th Sky Martial Saint looked at the divine martial token in his hand. Then, his body flashed and he flew toward one of the passages. His figure disappeared into the passage. When this expert entered the passage also disappeared, as if this passage had never appeared. Moreover, there were also many empty spots in other places that did not have passages. Li Lingtian understood that there was no passage in these places. It was likely that the warriors had entered and the passage would disappear after they entered. Swoosh. Another figure appeared. He was also a super martial saint. Just like the experts before him, he carefully looked at the passage on the stone wall and the divine martial token in his hand. Then, he disappeared into one of the passages. The passageway disappeared after the expert entered. Li Lingtian's expression turned ugly when he saw 6 or 7 powerhouses doing the same. The other experts were directly teleported to this place, but he was trapped by the pitch-black hole. He even saw stars and swam in the pool for so long. The Wheel of Fortune had turned in 30 years. In the past, his luck was super good. He was always so much luckier than other martial artists, and he had the advantage. Now, all the experts were teleported over, but he had to suffer alone. This was really fucking unlucky. He had been running in front, but he had enjoyed such treatment alone. However, he quickly regained his composure. He looked at Long De and then called Long De into the divine dragon ring. He then called Qingling out and took the divine martial token from her hand. After refining it quickly again, he let Qingling return to the divine dragon ring. After all, they only had one divine martial token. Moreover, it seemed that they had to use the divine martial token to enter this passageway. Of course, there was danger inside. He definitely wouldn't take Qingling to take the risk. Swoosh. With a flash, he arrived in front of the stone wall. When he arrived at the stone wall, a few super experts landed on it. The few powerhouses exclaimed in surprise when they saw Li Lingtian's cultivation base. At the same time, their eyes were filled with disdain. However, they did not want to fight in this place. If it was outside, they would not mind killing a martial emperor powerhouse casually. After all, this martial emperor powerhouse was their competitor. Scheming 1. Li Lingtian sized up the passageway on the stone wall. He did not care about provoking these few martial saint powerhouses. With his current cultivation and strength, he did not dare to provoke them. Then, his gaze landed on the divine martial token in his hand. He saw the word Gong appear on the divine martial token. As a Saint Array Master, a Super Saint Array Master, he naturally understood what the word Gong meant. In the Array Dao, every word had its own unique number and meaning. On the 9 Palaces 8 trigrams map, the word palace represented a position. Li Lingtian smiled faintly as he looked at one of the passageways. Just as he was about to fly up, he was stopped by a powerful aura. Li Lingtian turned around and looked at the few powerhouses with confusion and anger in his eyes. He did not want to cause trouble, but he was provoked. It was a complete insult to directly use an attack to stop him. What do you want to teach me? Li Lingtian suppressed the anger in his heart. The opponent was an 8th heavenly layer martial saint powerhouse. If it was anywhere else, he would definitely think of a way to kill them. However, now, the other party had several 7th or 8th heaven martial saints. He, a martial supreme, was as weak as a caterpillar. He could only hold it in for the time being and ask the other party. Junior, what do you say? Do you have the qualifications? Do you know array formation? Let me see where this position is. The old man at the 8th heaven of the martial saint realm looked like an old man as he looked at Li Lingtian with disdain. A martial emperor powerhouse actually dared to ask him for guidance. He really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. The aura around his body surged and pressed down on Li Lingtian as if he was showing off his power. So you don't know the location of the passageway? I'll be at your service. Li Lingtian was furious, but he did not show it. Instead, he wore a faint smile on his face as he walked past the powerful pressure with a trace of blood trickling down the corner of his mouth. At least you know what's good for you. Seeing that Li Lingtian did not resist, the old man retracted his pressure and tossed the divine martial badge to Li Lingtian with one hand. Li Lingtian caught the divine martial badge with both hands and looked at the words displayed on it. He hardened his heart. Your divine martial token shows that you advance 3 times to the east and retreat 1 time. The position of the middle palace is empty. Your seat is the 9th. Li Lingtian calculated in his heart as he revealed a respectful expression. Following that, the other martial saint powerhouses handed their divine martial tokens to Li Lingtian and asked him to help them find a passageway. Soon, the positions of the few martial saints were confirmed. Get lost. The old man bellowed in disdain when he saw Li Lingtian was done with his work. His face was filled with impatience. Goodbye. Li Lingtian's body flashed rapidly as he flew toward his own passageway. However, just as he entered the passage, a pitch-black light bombarded him fiercely. In Li Lingtian's eyes, he could see a sinister smile on the old man's face. Bang! With a dull thud, Li Lingtian's figure disappeared into the passageway, and so did the passageway. Pfft! A mouthful of blood spurted out as Li Lingtian's face turned deathly pale. His eyes revealed traces of killing intent. When he flew up just now, he had already activated the limitless feather coat. Otherwise, he would have died from that attack. Fortunately, the limitless feather coat blocked most of the attacks, and a small portion of the attacks were blocked. Although he was injured, it was not very serious. For an expert with his cultivation and physique, this bit of attack was not much. He just needed to recuperate a little. Humph. Li Lingtian turned around. Behind him was an endless precipice surrounded by a passageway that was 3 meters wide and 3 meters tall. He snorted coldly behind him, and the expression on his face slowly relaxed. Since they had provoked him, they had to pay a certain price. Let's go. Outside, several powerhouses thought that Li Lingtian had fallen when they saw the passageway disappear and the subsequent attack. The old man said indifferently. Immediately, a few people flew towards the passage at the same time. Boom! Pfft! Ah! Ah! Just as the few super martial saints flew up and were about to enter the passage, a destructive aura pressed down. It directly bombarded a few martial saints. 5 of the 7 martial saint powerhouses were instantly destroyed by the mysterious aura. The old man was also in the midst of being destroyed. Damn it, I was tricked. We went through the wrong passage. We will never be able to enter, and we will never be able to enter. The 2 martial saints who were a step late were already prepared and the other experts were destroyed. They forcefully returned and escaped the disaster. However, a few martial saint powerhouses had died, and the passageway had been touched. It could no longer be used. It was impossible to enter the divine martial hall. They could only stay here forever. If they wanted to leave, they had to enter the divine martial hall and leave from the other side. 5 of the 7 martial saints had been destroyed, which meant that 7 passages had gone wrong. The mistakes of the 7 passages occupied the other 7 correct passages. This time, the 14 passages lost their function. Li Lingtian walked step by step in the passageway. The further he went, the faster he picked up speed. Because there was a dangerous aura in the passage, he did not know if there would be other changes in the passage. If he stayed here for too long, the passage would disappear, and he would disappear with it. Therefore, he didn't dare to move slowly anymore. He could only fly quickly. As he flew, he checked if there was a problem. Bang! With a dull thud, Li Lingtian's body was sent flying backward. Fuck, I hit it again. What's going on today? After Li Lingtian retreated, he shook his dizzy head, rubbed his eyes and cursed loudly. He couldn't take it anymore. He was the first to enter, but he spent the night alone and swam in the pool for half a day. He was even looked down upon by the other experts. Now, it was already the second time he was hit. It was strange that he wasn't angry when such unfortunate things kept happening. However, when he cursed, he quickly circulated the true essence in his body and looked at the things in front of him warily. It was clearly a passage, and there was no obstruction in front of him. However, something strangely appeared to block him and even knocked him away, making him wary. Roar! With a roar, a destructive pressure blasted over. In the narrow passage, this destructive pressure was simply destructive. There was no way to dodge it. Moreover, the pressure was condensed together, and its power was even more terrifying. Heavenly Devil Region. Li Lingtian did not dare to be careless when he saw the terrifying pressure approaching. He quickly unleashed the Heavenly Demon Domain. However, before the Heavenly Demon Region could fully unleash it, this pressure had already crushed over. Pfft! The destructive pressure almost crushed him into ashes. His powerful physique resisted the destructive pressure, and his figure was thrown back. He spat out a mouthful of blood again. Earth Dao Intent, Heaven Flipping Seal. Sensing yet another destructive attack coming at him, Li Lingtian did not hesitate to unleash the will of the earth with a wave of his hand. A handprint with the will of the great path of earth struck out fiercely along with the trajectory of heaven and earth. The sky-turning palm was originally a low-level skill. However, Li Lingtian had cultivated it to the perfection state and combined it with the will of the earth, transforming the sky-turning palm into a heaven-grade superpower. Moreover, the heaven-flipping seal carried the truth of heaven and earth, and its power was extremely terrifying. Rumble. A shocking explosion sounded, and the passage kept trembling. Li Lingtian was once again blasted away. Although he did not use his trump card now, in front of the Heaven Up seal, even a martial saint would be killed. However, in front of this terrifying existence, it was completely insignificant. Hush! After retreating 100 meters, he sized up the things in front of him. He was hit, attacked, and almost killed. It was only now that he had the chance to size up this terrifying existence. In his line of sight, there was a black mass of demon beasts, their entire bodies filled with destructive explosive aura. The demonic beast was 1,000 meters away from him, and it was also at the exit of the passageway. The demonic beast was too huge. Only 2 claws could be seen. No one knew where this demonic beast came from. A terrifying aura emanated from the black mass of demonic beasts. Li Lingtian's expression was grave as he circulated the true essence in his body to the maximum. Come out. Li Lingtian stared at the demonic beast in front of him. From the beginning to the end, he could not see its true appearance due to its massive size. Furthermore, the terrifying aura it exuded was definitely in existence above the 8th level. Encountering such a terrifying demonic beast, he naturally would not delay any longer. He activated the divine dragon ring with his consciousness, and the strange beast of ice and fire appeared in front of him. The ice and fire beast was confused when Li Lingtian called it out. However, it soon sensed the terrifying aura ahead. Excitement appeared in its eyes. The ice and fire exotic beasts were warlike. Facing the terrifying demonic beasts in front of them, it immediately aroused the fighting spirit in its heart. However, he immediately felt a little disappointed. The opponent was only a 7th or 8th tier demonic beast. There was no need for him to fight such a demonic beast. Roar. With a roar, a terrifying pressure was unleashed. Ice and fire energy erupted. Instantly, an aura that could freeze the world erupted. The passageway formed a world of glaciers, and the entire passageway was blocked by ice. Moreover, the destructive power of the flames surged forward. Li Lingtian nearly cursed when he saw that he was frozen. This ice and fire exotic beast didn't even care about him during the battle and froze him inside. If he wasn't an ice and fire expert, he would be in trouble. He pointed with his hand, and the glacier in the passage instantly turned into nothingness. However, the icy chi inside became even more terrifying. Boom! At this moment, the two terrifying demonic beasts had already started fighting. The ice and fire exotic beast was about the same size as this passage, but the demonic beast opposite was extremely huge and only had 2 claws waving. He had completely lost his advantage and was continuously bombarded by the strange beasts. In the blink of an eye, his 2 huge claws were destroyed, and dozens of black holes appeared on his body, pierced through by the strange beasts' heaven-burning power. Divine Martial Hall, I, Tong. With a muffled sound, the terrifying demonic beast in front of him fell. Li Lingtian was relieved to see the demonic beast fall. The ice and fire exotic beast looked at Li Lingtian smugly with a fawning look in its eyes. Not bad. Li Lingtian said calmly before he walked forward. The dangerous aura disappeared, and the terrifying demonic beast pressure also completely disappeared. When he arrived at the front, he could not help but reveal a shocked expression. This was because there was a huge stone room in front of him. There was only such a terrifying demon beast in this stone room. A level 7/8 step demonic beast was incomparably huge, almost filling the entire stone room. Following that, Li Lingtian flashed swiftly and brandished a wind spirit's longsword. He removed the beast's skin and took the inner core with him. Soon, Li Lingtian crossed the stone chamber and arrived at the front of the passageway. The ice and fire exotic beast had been following Li Lingtian all this while. They did not encounter any demonic beasts or terrifying threats along the way. Clear sky cloud lightning formation. When he reached the front, he was blocked by a powerful divine array. The array formation emitted waves of cloud and thunder aura. Moreover, there was the momentum of the surging wind and clouds. From time to time, there would be waves of thunder. As a super holy array master, he naturally understood the power of this array. After sizing it up for a moment, he also told him the origin of this array. Divine array, it was a divine array again. Li Lingtian was puzzled and surprised at the same time. Coming to this God's Fall mountain range, he encountered many divine arrays and even powerful demon beasts. There were even ice and fire mutated beasts. Now, they encountered a divine array again. Looks like this God's Fall mountain range was not simple. Go back and take care of your skin first. I'll break the array. Li Ling ordered the ice and fire beast behind him to retreat. This place was not simple. He did not dare to break the array alone. He needed a powerful existence to protect him. This ice and fire exotic beast was the best candidate. Naturally, he could not waste such a resource. Roar. As the ice and fire exotic beast retreated, a destructive aura emanated from it. Its eyes darted around as if it was searching for something. Li Lingtian could not help but laugh at its behavior. However, he didn't say anything. This ice and fire exotic beast was acting like this for his safety. Then, He sat down cross-legged and began to seriously comprehend the vast heaven cloud lightning formation in front of him. If he wanted to break this array, he would have to understand it, and even figure out its power and key points. Otherwise, forget about breaking it, it would be a blessing if he was not killed. Swoosh, swoosh. Half an hour later, Li Lingtian stood up and displayed the divine array diagram. As he cast his spells, the divine array diagram emitted a faint golden light. As the light grew denser, the Hao Tian cloud lightning formation began to tremble. Boom! An explosion sounded when the golden light hit the Hao heaven cloud thunder formation. Instantly, the Hao heaven cloud thunder formation was shattered. There was a flash of light in front of her eyes, and a breeze blew in. A faint smile appeared on Li Lingtian's face when he saw the situation on the other side of the array. After walking through this passageway, he quickly recuperated from his injuries. The ice and fire strange beast guarded him by the side. Only one person had passed through this passage, so this place was also the safest place. If he were to heal elsewhere, he would really be worried. After all, this place was already close to the Divine Martial Hall, and there were countless experts. Any expert could easily eliminate him. Even if there were ice and fire strange beasts, it was impossible for them to have a good life. Half an hour later, his injuries recovered a little. Originally, he wanted to leave after his injuries were completely healed. However, there was a change in this passageway. The passageway slowly fused together. If he didn't go out, he would be buried by the passage and forever be fused inside. His figure flashed and he put the ice and fire exotic beast into the divine dragon ring. When he left, the passageway was already fusing. Whoosh! Whoosh! Many experts appeared on the other side of the precipice. However, there were still countless experts who were fused by the passageway. Only a few people could survive. When he came out, there were already quite a number of martial artists in front of him. Li Lingtian also understood that the passageway was a checkpoint. Those who could enter the passageway were some super powerhouses, but there were also demonic beasts and formations in the passageway. It could kill demonic beasts, but it might not be able to crack the divine array. Only a handful of the hundreds of experts could actually come out and pass through the passageway. Li Lingtian's appearance shocked the dozen or so martial saint powerhouses. It was indeed unbelievable that a martial emperor powerhouse had actually passed through this passageway. One had to know that they had all encountered powerful and heaven-defying demonic beasts and the array formation behind them. If one did not have the ability, even a martial saint at the 8th or 9th heaven would be killed inside and forever trapped in front of the array Dao. Li Lingtian did not dare to stay in that place. Instead, he quickly flew into the distance. It was definitely not wise for a martial emperor powerhouse to be with a group of 8th or 9th heaven martial saints. After leaving the group of martial saint powerhouses, Li Lingtian changed directions and quickly escaped from the martial saint powerhouses behind and in front of him. After flying for half a day, they finally arrived in front of a huge hall. The Great Hall was no different from the precipice in front of them. They both cut the world apart. If one wanted to pass through, they had to enter this Great Hall. Divine Martial Hall. 3 ancient seal characters were emitting a faint golden light. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of years had passed, but this place was still spotless. The golden words seemed to have been carved yesterday. The words emitted a powerful and vigorous force, as if they had been forged by an ultimate expert. Divine Martial Hall, I've finally found you. Li Lingtian thought to himself as he sized up the Divine Martial Hall. In front of the Divine Martial Hall, there were more than a dozen super experts. These experts were the same as him. They sized up the hall and then entered it one after another. However, the moment Li Lingtian saw these powerhouses enter, a faint aura appeared and devoured all of them. Like a black hole, Li Lingtian hesitated when he saw the situation. He didn't want to be fooled again. He had been fooled when he first entered the lake. He would gain some wisdom after eating for a while. However, he quickly decided. He still had to go in, because if he didn't go in, he wouldn't be able to get out. If he wanted to leave, he had to pass through the Divine Martial Hall. He did not know what was inside the Divine Martial Hall. It was one of the most mysterious secret planes in the Divine Martial Continent. There must be some heaven-defying existence inside. Whoosh! His figure flashed and he quickly entered the hall. Upon entering the hall, Li Lingtian felt as if he had entered a maze. There were palaces of all sizes everywhere, and strange names appeared here. Fortunately, there was no longer any restriction on the divine sense in this hall other than the gray and hazy interior. This place was no different from the palace outside. There was no life force inside, but there was a dense and mysterious aura. This aura did not cause any harm to martial artists at this time. Soon after, Li Lingtian shouted Dragon's name. The two of them quickly flew through the passage. There was no end to the palace, and they did not know where the end was. A day passed. 2 days passed, 10 days passed. The two of them had been wandering around inside, but they had not met a single person. Even the experts who had entered at the beginning had never been seen again. Li Lingtian grew anxious when he saw this. Moreover, in this place, even the array Dao was useless because he had already entered a huge and heaven-defying array Dao. This powerful array path had already exceeded his imagination, making him unable to use an array formation to crack this array path. That was because this array formation was a physical array formation, an invincible existence. This array formation was not illusory. It was an array formation of a palace. Even if he knew that this was an array formation, he would not be able to break it. Let's find a safe place to rest first and then find a way. Li Lingtian's face showed a hint of fatigue as he turned around and spoke to Long De. The two of them didn't speak anymore. They kept walking forward and finally found a relatively safe palace to stay in. Li Lingtian only dared to cast a restriction when he entered the palace. This was because he would be courting death if he used the array Dao inside the array. Phew. The air fluctuated slightly, and Qing Ling and the others appeared in the palace. Big brother Ling Tian, where is this place? After Xianyuan Yingying came out, she looked around curiously. However, she found that this place was very dark. There was no sunlight at all. There was only gray light. She asked Li Lingtian. After the other girls finished sizing him up, they turned to look at Li Lingtian. However, Qing Ling's expression was a little dull, as if she had lost her soul. This place is the Divine Martial Hall, but I've been lost in this place for 10 days and still can't find the exit. I haven't even met any other experts. Li Lingtian gave a brief account of what had happened during this period of time with a wry smile on his face. The Divine Martial Hall. We have entered the Divine Martial Hall. Could this place be a huge formation? But why is the Divine Martial Hall no different from an ordinary palace? This place really is a formation. The girls were surprised and began to discuss. That's right. This place is a formation, so I don't dare to use the formation path. Li Lingtian nodded before he turned to look at Qing Ling. He saw that she was still in shock. However, they didn't say anything as they were worried that they would disturb Qing Ling. For a moment, the entire palace was silent. Even Xianyuan Qingqing, who liked to talk the most, fell silent. They all looked at Qing Ling. At this moment, they could only look at Qing Ling. Qing Ling had a mysterious feeling towards the Divine Martial Hall. She should have a different feeling towards the Divine Martial Hall. Nine Divine Palace. 1. Young Master, a familiar aura is calling me. After a long time, under everyone's gaze, the dull look on Qing Ling's face disappeared and was replaced with confusion. She then spoke to Li Lingtian in a serious tone. There was a hint of excitement in her voice as if she had found her family. It was a feeling that made it difficult for her to calm down. She didn't know why she felt this way, because she only had one brother, Qing Yun. The two of them depended on each other and had never met her parents. Naturally, she wouldn't have any other relatives. Now, follow that feeling. Li Lingtian spoke to Qing Ling seriously without hesitation. His eyes were filled with gentleness as he gave Qingling an encouraging gesture. Following that, Qingling shuttled through the palace based on the feeling of the summoning. Li Lingtian and the others followed closely behind. At this moment, they could only follow Qingling. If Qingling could find something useful, it would be of great help to them when they left the divine martial hall. Li Lingtian noticed that as time passed, QMG Ling's expression became even more excited. Moreover, the powerful aura in the palace had also become stronger. This situation proved that the summoning that Qingling sensed was correct. They were getting closer and closer to the mysterious summoning. As long as he followed Qingling, he would find that mysterious summoning. Li Lingtian had encountered this kind of situation a few times and he trusted this feeling. Yuyan, you guys go back to the Divine Dragon Ring first. After walking for half a day, he noticed that the aura was getting stronger. Li Lingtian was worried that Tang Qingyue and the others might be hurt, so he called them into the Divine Dragon Ring. This way, it would be much easier for him to take care of Qingling alone. Be careful. Tang Genji and the others nodded and entered the Divine Dragon Ring. After everything was done, Li Lingtian had QMG Ling walk in front while he and Longda observed the surroundings carefully. If there was any sign of danger, they would protect Qingling immediately. After all, at this moment, Qingling's cultivation was the lowest. A single strike from a martial emperor would cause the green caltrop to vanish into thin air. However, when the martial emperor's attack landed on Li Lingtian and Longda, it was no longer a threat. Hoo. See. In the air, the sound of the wind was constantly heard, and it was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, the place where Qingling went was exactly the same as the place where the wind came from. In other words, the place they wanted to go to was the source of the wind. Even if it wasn't, it was at least in the same direction as the wind. Hua. Hiss. The breeze gradually became stronger. The further they went, the more terrifying the wind became. In the end, the breeze turned into a strong wind and even a hurricane. Li Lingtian and Longda unleashed their terrifying protective shields to envelop Qingling in a hurricane that could tear space apart. However, they were unable to block Qingling's senses. Fortunately, the three of them had already entered a long passage. The summoning sensation was also in front of them. Qingling was blocked by Li Lingtian's defense while the hurricane was kept outside. However, after walking for a while, he had to sense if the summoning existed. Fortunately, the summoning sensation was still in front of him, and it was getting stronger and clearer. However, the hurricane was getting more and more terrifying. Even with Li Lingtian's powerful cultivation base, the shield was still contorting. He did not expect that there was such a powerful hurricane in this world that could actually affect his defensive shield. Qingling, come in. Longda, you use the true dragon chi, I'll use the heavenly demon region. Let's go through this passage first. Li Lingtian looked at the destructive hurricane. If this continued, the three of them would not be torn apart by the hurricane at the end of the tunnel. The only way now was to pass through the hurricane tunnel that carried the destructive force. Even if he missed the call, he could still go back to the past. All right. Longda said loudly. Qingling then returned to Li Lingtian's defensive shield. Li Lingtian unleashed the heavenly demon domain and with Longda's true dragon's chi, a terrifying defense was formed. The defense enveloped the three of them, and they quickly ran forward against the hurricane. Li Lingtian's cultivation base was at the peak of the 9th Heaven Martial Emperor realm. Coupled with his various techniques and divine powers, he could even kill a 7th Heaven Martial Saint. However, his face turned pale in the face of the hurricane. It was evident how terrifying the hurricane was. At this moment, the hurricane had traces of cracks, as if it was constantly tearing through space. Moreover, every time the hurricane twisted, the defensive shield would tremble. Let's go. Li Lingtian reached the end of the light and extended his divine perception. After he had investigated the other side, he roared and pounced toward the other side with a destructive force. With his cultivation and Longda's power, he tore through space and flew around the destructive hurricane. He crossed 100 meters in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already behind the light. Plop. Pft. The three of them fell to the ground. The hurricane disappeared and they fell hard to the ground. At the same time, Li Lingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because at the last moment, the destructive hurricane almost tore through their defenses. He did not dare to hesitate anymore and could only forcefully display his strongest defense. He clashed hard with the hurricane. The terrifying hurricane collided and blocked the hurricane's destruction, but Li Lingtian's mind was shaken. Young master. Young master. When Qing Ling and Long De saw Li Lingtian's injury, they understood what had happened. They also knew that if Li Lingtian had not intervened, the three of them would have perished in the hurricane. From the beginning to the end, they did not know where this hurricane came from. Because when they crossed it, the hurricane disappeared. There was no sound of wind in the light. It was like an illusion. I'm fine. Li Lingtian waved his hand as a comforting smile appeared on his face. Qing Ling quickly used a silk handkerchief to wipe away the blood at the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. She no longer paid any attention to the summoning because Li Lingtian was the most important person in her heart. Because this man was her glory and her happiness. Without this man, she would not be happy. After that, Li Lingtian tossed a pill into his mouth and adjusted his breathing before opening his eyes to survey his surroundings. Young master, the summoning is not far ahead. Qing Ling whispered after she saw that Li Lingtian's injuries had stabilized. This place is no different from my palace, but there are no terrifying hurricanes or threats. It was just like an ordinary palace, which puzzled them. Logically speaking, the divine martial hall was not an ordinary place. It should be a place where an almighty expert lived and cultivated. However, this place was so simple and ordinary. Alright, let's go take a look first. Li Lingtian nodded and immediately perked up. At any time, even if he was injured, he would adjust his mental state to the best state to face a powerful challenge. The three of them slowly walked forward with serious expressions on their faces, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. At the beginning, there was a terrifying hurricane. Now that they had arrived at the target location, they naturally had to be careful in case they were destroyed. In such a place, destroying a martial saint was as easy as crushing an ant. The powerful palace was silent. However, there was not a single speck of dust in this palace, as if it had been cleaned. The green grass was shady, and the fragrance of flowers was everywhere. There was not a trace of vitality. 9 Divine Palace. Li Lingtian looked at the plaque on the main hall and his eyes were filled with shock. A hall with such a name must have been left behind from ancient times. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dared to give it such a name. 9 Divine Palace? Could it be a 9 prodigy? His heart jolted as the incomplete memories of Divine Lord Jiuyang slowly condensed in his mind. When he thought of the 9 prodigy, Li Lingtian felt a sense of dread. It was an instinctive dread that came from the depths of his soul. In his previous life, Jiuyang Divine Lord and 9 Prodigy were on the same level. Outsiders knew how powerful Jiuyang Divine Lord was, but they did not know how terrifying 9 Prodigy was. However, only Jiuyang Divine Lord knew how terrifying 9 was. Not only was 9's cultivation and strength not inferior to his, but he was even stronger. Even Jiuyang Divine Lord would be wary of 9 prodigy. He did not dare to provoke this terrifying existence. However, this 9 heaven's favorite was indeed a mighty expert from the upper world. She was also a peerless beauty. Li Lingtian did not expect the 9 prodigy's shrine to appear in the divine martial hall. This was what frightened Li Lingtian because the 9 prodigy was from the same era as him. However, the figures of this era had actually appeared in the divine martial continent at the same time. Could there be some secret behind it? Gradually, Li Lingtian fell into deep thought. Tisk. At this moment, the aura of the space froze. A devastating pressure appeared at the entrance of the hall. Li Lingtian and Long De were thrown into the air before they fell to the ground quickly. He wanted to take Qingling away, but he had no strength to resist. Because, in front of this pressure, he didn't even have the chance to resist. Moreover, he didn't have the strength to resist this pressure and could only be thrown out. However, he soon discovered that the Qingling Supreme Realm did not pose any threat to this pressure at all. It was as if he was not attacked at all. Pft! Pft! The two of them fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. He looked at Qingling in shock and the faint icy halo around her. This icy halo carried a destructive icy aura. Even though Li Lingtian cultivated the ice soul martial soul and flaming sacred body, he was still trembling in the face of the icy cold. At this moment, the spirit freezing ice also seemed small and fragile. Compared to this icy halo, the two were nothing. Nine Prodigy. 1. Li Lingtian's expression changed drastically when he sensed the terrifying icy aura. This aura was the cold aura of the Nine Prodigy. In the upper world, 9 Yang Divine Lords, 9 Yang Sacred Flame and 9 Heaven's favorites, 9 Mystic Ice were the same. Moreover, the 9 Suns Sacred Flame had suffered a lot in front of the 9 Mystic Ice. Now that he saw it again, his heart trembled. Now, he was certain that the Nine Prodigy had died, or rather, he had reincarnated. Otherwise, how could a mighty figure like Nine appear in this place? In the past, in the upper realm, they were all super mighty experts who dominated an area. He was just unlucky to be destroyed by the immemorial ice crystal. However, this Nine Prodigy rarely showed his face. He would never believe that he was as unlucky as him. He was sure that there was some unknown secret behind it. At this moment, all his attention was on Qingling. She stood in front of the Nine Divine Palace as if she was completely unaware of the outside world. Furthermore, Li Lingtian could sense a trace of an unfamiliar aura from Qingling. She was gradually different from the Qingling of the past. All of this was because of this icy cold energy, which allowed Qingling to gradually pull away from him. This feeling made him feel uncomfortable. This was his woman, but he felt a strange feeling from his woman. Naturally, he felt uncomfortable. Swoosh! A devastating cold aura enveloped Qingling. Then, she disappeared in a strange manner. When she reappeared, she had already entered the Nine Divine Palace. The frosty air in front of the temple door disappeared as well. Li Lingtian stood up and entered the Nine Temple in a flash. Inside the Nine Divine Palace, he saw Qingling floating in the air with her eyes closed and her face pale. It looked like he was in extreme pain, but Li Lingtian was helpless at the moment. Qingling was surrounded by a frosty aura, and with his current cultivation base, he could not contend against the frosty aura. In his previous life, he, the 9 Suns Sacred Flame, was no match for the 9 Mystic Ice. In this life, his cultivation was too low. If he wanted to fight against the 9 Mystic Ice, he would undoubtedly be courting death. If it was in his previous life, he would naturally not be afraid of the cold energy of the 9 Divine Hall. After all, this cold energy was not the 9 Prodigy himself. Huff huff. In the hall, the sound of the wind continued. The green caltrop floated in the air and spun continuously. The sound of the wind rang out, and together with the sound of the wind, there was a destructive cold aura. Both Li Lingtian and Long Da unleashed their powerful defenses to resist the icy aura. However, Qingling, who was in the icy cold air, had completely forgotten about everything outside. Boom! At this moment, a muffled sound came from the 9 Divine Palace. A 5-meter-long and 2-meter-wide pool appeared on the ground of the hall. The pool was dark blue and emitted a destructive cold air. All the cold air was emitted from this pool. The terrifying icy blue pool contained a mysterious blue pool water. However, Li Lingtian had no idea what the pool water was. Moreover, in the center of the pool was a sparkling pearl. This pearl was sparkling and translucent, and there was a mysterious aura on it. On one side of the bead was a fist-sized crystal. The crystal was shaped like countless water chestnuts and was as beautiful as a crystal. However, Li Lingtian's face was filled with shock. Divine Spark. 9 Mystic Ice Crystal. Li Lingtian cried out in surprise because the smaller pearl was actually a divinity, an ice divinity. This ice-type divinity was identical to the ice-type and fire-type divinity Li Lingtian obtained in the stone chamber in the passageway. However, this divinity was slightly stronger than the one he obtained. The other fist-sized crystal was actually the 9 Mystic Ice Crystal cultivated by the 9 Prodigy. How could he not be shocked? At first, he had only suspected that 9 had died and reincarnated. Now that he had seen this godhead and crystal with his own eyes, he was sure that 9 had died. Swoosh. Just as he was in shock, the divine spark in the pool had already arrived in front of Qingling in an instant. Instantly, the divine spark floated above Qingling's head. Streams of mysterious aura connected with Qingling. Li Lingtian could only watch helplessly. Moreover, it was already too late to stop Qingling and the divine spark. With his current cultivation, he didn't have the slightest confidence. He might even destroy Qingling. The divine spark slowly merged with Qingling. After an unknown period of time, the divine spark disappeared, and so did all the cold air. Qingling opened her beautiful eyes. However, her gaze was ice cold. It was the same as the ice goddess ice sculpture. When she looked at Li Lingtian, her gaze made Li Lingtian tremble. A terrifying chill emanated from her eyes. The unfamiliar gaze was no longer Qingling's familiar gentle gaze. Qingling. Li Lingtian averted his gaze and cast aside his thoughts as he shouted at Qingling. He hoped that everything in front of him was an illusion. However, after he shouted, a destructive pressure exploded from Qingling's body. The pressure blasted Li Lingtian out of the 9 Divine Palace. Without the slightest resistance, Long De was also thrown out, and his eyes revealed a shocked expression. Humph. Qingling glared at Li Lingtian coldly, her eyes filled with arrogance and coldness. Needless to say, the cold snort alone was enough to break Li Lingtian's heart. I didn't expect to meet you again. What a coincidence. At this moment, Qingling was no longer Qingling because her tone and voice were extremely cold. That terrifying strength was impossible to be Qingling's. 9 Heaven's favorite, I didn't think that you would have such a day. If you have the ability, then don't take over Qingling's body. Get the hell out here. Li Lingtian stood up and wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. His eyes were equally cold. However, in the other eye, it was indeed a world of flames. On one side was flames, and on the other side was ice. This was the power of the fusion of ice and fire. He looked at 9 prodigy. At this moment, he was sure that Qingling had been possessed. Killing intent surged in his heart, and his heart ached. He had already decided that today, either 9 prodigy would vanish into thin air, or he would die. Humph, I didn't expect you to treat her so well. The mighty 9 Saint Lord is actually so sentimental. You've reincarnated, but in front of me, you're even inferior to an ant. 9 said calmly. Even though his voice was calm, it was extremely cold. There was no hint of human chi in it, as if it came from the 9 nether underworld. 9 chosen, you're only so-so. In the upper realm, we didn't have a clear winner. But today, you've just possessed someone. No matter how strong you are, you can't break the laws of the divine martial continent. Today, either you die or I die. Li Lingtian's face was filled with killing intent as he circulated his true essence to the maximum. With a flick of his divine consciousness, the ice and fire exotic beast, silver-winged flying dragon, Little White and the rest appeared beside Li Lingtian. Immediately, Li Lingtian and the others formed a formation in front of the temple square. Although Tang Qingyue and the others did not know what was going on, they could roughly understand what was going on when they saw Li Lingtian's expression and the way he looked at Qingling. Without saying a word, they circulated their most terrifying true essence to the maximum, ready to cooperate with Li Lingtian to defeat the person before them. Then let's see what you're capable of. Show me your greatest ability. Otherwise, it will be too late for you to regret. A strange light flashed in the eyes of the 9 heaven's favorite. Immediately, the icy cold energy in his entire body circulated. In the space, the entire sky was frozen. Even the space in front of Li Lingtian and the others was frozen. The icy aura carried a tearing force as it continued to tear Li Lingtian and the others apart. 9 Suns Sacred Flame. Limitless Holy Flame. Fire Dragon's Heart. Earth Core White Flame. Li Lingtian was shocked when he saw the terrifying aura. He did not expect that after the possession of the 9 prodigy, he would still have such a terrifying aura. This aura had never been seen in the divine martial continent. Even when he met the 9 prodigy in the upper world, this aura was not so powerful. This made him feel a deep fear. Even he, who was in the upper realm, was not a match for 9's prodigy. Now, he had even less confidence. Could it be that the 9 prodigy had hidden his strength in the upper realm? The thought rose in Li Lingtian's mind, but he did not have the chance to ponder on it at the moment. The true essence in his entire body circulated to the extreme, displaying 4 kinds of destructive flames. Crash. With a crisp sound, the icy air in the space was blocked. Tang Qingyue and the others also regained their freedom from the ice. However, there were traces of blood at the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth. Despite the fact that he had unleashed 4 types of flames, he had refined them and had mastered them to the extent of perfection. However, using 4 types of flames at once was still beyond his endurance. Moreover, he did not dare to be careless when he encountered such a terrifying expert. He had to go all out. If he had met other martial saints, he would not have done so. 5 Elements Reincarnation. The 9 Heavenly Stars. Tang Qingyue and the others no longer hesitated. However, when they looked at the prodigy of 9, they revealed a trace of pain. This was because this person was Qing Ling. Even if she had been possessed, she was still their sister. Now, they wanted to destroy her. This situation was really difficult for them to accept. However, at this moment, he understood that the bigger picture was more important. He hoped that he could defeat the 9 heaven's favorite and help Qing Ling regain her consciousness. At the same time, the doctor shouted and used the 5 elements reincarnation. Li Lingtian did not say much as he unleashed the 9 heavenly stars. Although he still had many heaven-defying methods, he did not dare to use them now. He had to join forces with Tang Qingyue and the others to have a little bit of confidence. Divine Might Swoosh. In the air, Tang Qingyue's group of 5 flashed and formed a 5 elements reincarnation formation. Li Lingtian was also suspended in the air. Originally, the 5 elements reincarnation belonged to Qingling, Tang Qingyue and the others. However, Qingling was possessed by the 9 heavenly talent, so Xianyuan Yingying could only take her place. 5 elements reincarnation. The 9 heavenly stars. This is not your previous cultivation technique. 9 Yin's paragon was shocked when he saw the array formation cast by Tang Qingyue and the others, as well as Li Lingtian's 5 elements Dao intent. She possessed Qingling and was unaware of her memories. Naturally, she was unaware that Li Lingtian's cultivation had changed. She thought that Li Lingtian's cultivation technique was the 9 Suns Sacred Flame from her previous life. However, looking at it now, he was instantly incomparably shocked. Such a move and divine ability was beyond her imagination. She was not confident in her ability to do so. After all, her understanding of Li Lingtian was limited to her past life. In this life, Li Lingtian cultivated the canon and divine powers. Compared to his previous life, it was countless times stronger. The two were on a completely different level. Do you think I will be limited to my previous life? Try my 9 heaven stars and see how much of your cultivation base you still have. Li Lingtian unleashed the 5 elements will. The 5 elements sacred body supported the 5 elements will, and the terrifying will wreaked havoc in the air. The 99 five-colored spiritual pearls were also unleashed, instantly forming an independent world. Tang Qingyue and the others also circulated the five elements reincarnation. The five elements reincarnation fused with the 9 stars in the sky, and its power was heaven-defying. This was something they had researched in the imperial palace. The power of the five elements reincarnation was no different from before, but Li Lingtian had added the 9 heaven stars to the original array formation. This way, the power of the 9 heaven star and the five elements reincarnation would increase by several times. 9 Yin Heaven Scroll, Icebound Butterfly Language. 9 Yin's paragon's expression turned grave as he watched Li Lingtian and the others unleash their moves and divine abilities. His eyes shifted and the true essence in his body became even more berserk and cold. A pair of jade-like hands continuously flew about. Instantly, the world seemed to be about to be destroyed. Boundless cold air rushed down from the sky, and his hair fluttered. Beams of destructive cold air surged out. In the blink of an eye, the world emitted a supreme might. In front of this might, the ground trembled. This was supreme divine might. The 9 Yin prodigy was originally an almighty powerhouse from the upper world and possessed terrifying divine might. Divine might. A simple divine might could directly destroy a martial artist until they vanished into thin air. This was the advantage of mighty figures in front of martial artists. The strong had an overwhelming blow in front of the weak. As long as they were dignified, it would be enough. When a martial saint faced a martial emperor, he could directly suppress him with his pressure. Martial emperors could not get close to a martial saint at all. The 9 Yin prodigy had already died, but after possessing the body, he still carried a trace of divine might. Just this bit of divine might could directly kill any martial artist. Li Lingtian and the others were shocked and they sensed the divine might. He was a reincarnation, and his soul had split into 3. His divine might had long disappeared, and he no longer had the divine might of the 9 Yin prodigy. Now, he could only rely on the powerful methods of this life to fight against the 9 Yin prodigy. He hoped that he could kill 9 Yin and save Qing Ling Russell in the air, the fusion of the 9 heaven stars and the 5 elements reincarnation, as well as the power of the 9 Yin heaven scroll, constantly rubbed against each other. For a moment, the space emitted a rustling sound. In an instant, endless divine might fiercely bombarded the 9 stars in the sky. An invisible attack and divine might directly bombarded the 9 stars in the sky. Immediately, the outside of the divine hall began to tremble. Blood trickled down the corner of Li Lingtian's mouth as he stared at 9 Yin's prodigy in horror. He did not expect this 9 Yin prodigy to be so terrifying. He had thought that this 9 Yin prodigy was no stronger than a 9th heavenly layer martial saint. However, it seemed that even a 9th heavenly layer martial saint would be instantly killed by this attack. Pfft! The stars in the 9 skies vanished into thin air. Li Lingtian fell to the ground along with Tang Qingyue and the others. Their faces were deathly pale. Blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth, and she looked extremely miserable. Dang 9 Yin also took a few steps back. The coldness in his eyes became even stronger, and he was also extremely shocked. She did not expect Li Lingtian to be so powerful. He was only at the martial emperor stage, yet he was already able to contend with her true immortal stage. Even if her true god realm only had a trace of divine might, it was simply an instant kill against martial artists. Now, not only had he failed to kill Li Lingtian, he had even knocked him back. If Li Lingtian were to reach his previous cultivation state, no one would be his match. At that thought, he was even more shocked. 5 elements sacred body. Li Lingtian activated his cultivation technique and his body flashed as he activated the 5 elements will again. At the same time, Xianyuan Yingying also circulated the 5 elements sacred body. The two of them looked at each other, and the terrifying 5 elements will wreaked havoc in the air. For a moment, the aura between heaven and earth became strange. 5 elements sacred body? 5 elements sacred body. How is it possible for you to achieve the 5 elements sacred body? Ben Gong understands, completely understands. Looking at Li Lingtian's 5-element sacred body, he seemed to have understood something. 9 said loudly. His eyes became confused, but this confusion disappeared in an instant. The genuine vitality in his body disappeared quickly. In the end, his realm stabilized at the second heaven of the martial emperor realm. Li Lingtian was puzzled and shocked by this. She immediately understood that the 9 prodigy was also at the end of her powerful attack. After that one attack, she had used up the last trace of her divine might and had no chance to attack again. I see. Li Lingtian withdrew his 5 elements Dao will as he watched the 9 prodigy's transformation. He then looked at the 9 prodigy seriously. Now, the 9 prodigy did not have the strength to make a move at all. If he couldn't take them down in the first attack, 9 prodigy would have wiped them out. However, when he took them, 9 prodigy didn't have the strength to attack. There are a total of 9 upper world powerhouses in the Divine Martial Hall. Just like me, they all died here. However, only one person can leave the Divine Martial Hall alive in the end. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. I don't want to say too much. She's the same as you. She's Bengong's reincarnation. You're lucky. 9 paragon ignored Li Lingtian's words and muttered to himself. As he finished his sentence, the entire temple's icy cold aura entered his body. At the same time, there was confusion in her eyes. Li Lingtian was extremely familiar with this gaze. It was Qing Ling's gaze. Qing Ling. Li Lingtian called out tentatively because the gaze belonged to Qing Ling and the aura of the 9 prodigy had disappeared. It didn't disappear, but it quickly weakened and fused with Qing Ling. The atmosphere in the air also quickly regained its calm. This situation made Long De and the others extremely surprised. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. It was supposed to be a life and death battle, but the ending was beyond his imagination and expectations. Young master, what's wrong? Qing Ling asked as she looked at Li Lingtian and Tang Qingyue in confusion. She asked with concern when she saw the blood stains on the corners of Li Lingtian's and Tang Qingyue's lips. She wondered what had just happened. Sister Qingling, you really don't know what just happened? Huangfu Yuyan looked at Qingling and asked seriously. This was a matter that concerned their lives. There could not be the slightest mistake. Sister Yuyan, I didn't know anything just now. When Qingling saw Huangfu Yuyan asking her, she felt that there was something she didn't know and it might be related to her. He was even more confused. At this moment, countless pieces of information appeared in his mind. Although the information was incomplete, he had a rough idea. Li Lingtian and the others did not say anything as they watched Qing Ling's change. How is it? Do you remember anything? After a while, Qing Ling opened her eyes and Shenyuan Yingying asked. At this moment, they all looked at Qing Ling curiously. Young master, I understand. Just now, my consciousness was controlled. Moreover, the one controlling my consciousness was the one who summoned me. It was also my original body from my previous life. Qing Ling looked at Li Lingtian and the others and roughly understood what had just happened. She revealed a guilty expression. They had almost killed Li Lingtian and the others earlier. At the same time, she understood a lot of things in her mind. The feeling that summoned her was her previous life and also her original body. There were many things that she could not sort out at the moment. I see. You were originally the same person, and she didn't possess you. Li Lingtian recalled the last words of 9 prodigy and immediately understood something. The 9 heaven's favorite had given him an advantage. In other words, the 9 heaven's favorite was Qing Ling, and Qing Ling was the 9 heaven's favorite. The two of them were originally the same person, but they had a true body and a reincarnation. Young master, are you all right? Qing Ling came to Li Lingtian's side and asked with concern. She looked at Tang Qingyue and the others with a guilty expression. I'm fine. Li Lingtian smiled. It was fortunate that Qingling was fine. Their injuries were nothing. Sister Qingling, this matter has nothing to do with you. That's right. I attacked you just now because I wanted to kill your previous life and save you. I didn't expect you to be the same person. I didn't expect you to be so powerful in your previous life that even Big Brother Ling Tian was afraid of you. Congratulations to Sister Qingling for reaching the Martial Emperor realm. Qingling has already reached the Martial Emperor realm. I'm so envious. For a moment, Tang Qingyue and the others comforted Qingling. This matter had nothing to do with her. They were good sisters, so they naturally couldn't let Qingling have a shadow in her heart. Although my realm has increased, there are still many things I don't know. I need to slowly accept and organize them. Qingling revealed a gentle smile. She was extremely touched by these sisters. She had just reached the Martial Emperor realm and had yet to sort out the memories of the Nine Yin's prodigy. Only by completely accepting these memories could he return to normal. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.